Welcome to Yahoo Sports Daily. She's Caroline Fenton. I'm Jason Fitz. It's Hump Day. We got the Wednesday episode. Oh, such good work. Can we get it one more time? Can we get one more Hump Day? Oh, that just feels good all the way down to my loins. It's good.
It really does. And I feel like we should maybe address our accessories before we address the day of the week.
I'm sorry. This is my normal show garb. This is fashion. Thank you so much. So do you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
This is embarrassing. We didn't even plan this.
I know.
We showed up in the same outfit.
Who knew? With large $100 bills, no less. Yes, we are here in San Francisco, live in person, hanging out with you as Yahoo Sports is all week. By the way, we're here 9 to 11 Pacific this week. Don't forget, usually 9 to 11 Eastern. So we appreciate you guys hanging out. But we've got Harden trades to get into. We've got NBA drama to get into. But we're here in San Francisco with massive, massive wads of very real $100 bills.
Just like strip clubs in Cleveland are about to happen.
Oh, my God. Full Harden everywhere, right? Hump Day and strip clubs? What are we doing? Okay, so we're doing this because here we sit with a ton of money about to go out in the NFL. And we figured we'd take a look at some of the people out there that might get paid coming into the offseason. This is a season of hope, right? Everybody wants their team to turn around. So we're going to go positions, and we're going to look at some of these different free agents that are out there in the NFL, and we're going to figure out who's getting paid because you see it right there. The salary cap, even bigger than was expected. So just when you thought people were going to be out of money, they are not. We're looking at a range of $301 to $305 million per club. That is a massive leap. There are teams like the Patriots and Raiders with over $100 million in cap space to spend. So let's spend some big old cash. We're going to make it rain. I don't know if I can. I'm going to try. Okay, we'll make these rain. Look at that. She's already thrown out dollars. Don't worry, I got more. All right, so let's look at quarterbacks first. Now, when you look at the free agent quarterback list that's out there, we've got Aaron Rodgers. We've got some names out there. Who do you think is about to get paid, get a big old bag?
I think it's Malik Willis.
Oh.
I think Malik Willis is about to get paid, and that is equally as much about Malik Willis and what he's proven as a backup in this league, and also the current quarterback market. You know, when you look at the free agents in this upcoming quarterback class, it's pretty uninspiring. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers will be one that we talk a lot about this upcoming offseason, but Malik Willis is the one that I kind of pinpoint as the one that coaches can be like, I can work with this. I can fix this. Let's not forget, it was not that long ago that Malik Willis was lauded as a first-round pick. And I think spending some time in the LaFleur rehabilitation camp with the Packers, proving that he could be, perhaps maybe a starting quarterback in this league. I think he's going to get paid because of the lack of quarterbacks that we have available in the market.
Yeah, so supply and demand is such a huge part of this conversation, right? Because
for the Jets, for the Colts.
I mean, you look across the board, there are going to be teams that need a quarterback. As we've talked about on this show right now today, we haven't really dug into the draft prep process yet. We will plenty at Yahoo Sports and on the show. But it looks like Fernando clearly going to be a high pick. Ty Simpson, we're still a little bit torn on. Not everybody knows where that goes. So if your answer is the draft, you're not going to have great answers. And then to your point, in free agency, not a lot of options. So you're going to have a bidding war for people like Malik Willis. So whatever you think Malik's going to get paid, just up the ante because there are less options and more teams available. I'll go with a different pick. You mentioned the Colts. I think the Colts have seen enough from Daniel Jones to know that they have their future starting quarterback, at least for right now. So knowing that Daniel Jones is going to be out for a while, given the Achilles injury, knowing that it's going to take a minute to come back from that, and then it's going to take a minute to be himself again. I think these are all factors in the payment, but I still think he gets paid in the form of some sort of a 3-year deal where they can spread some of it out and they can give him some guarantees long-term that say, hey, we want you. Yeah. But in the meantime, yes, year one of that, you're basically eating as sunken cost, right? So it may not look like the mega deal. It may not look like that. Had he played through the duration of the season and things stayed healthy, I think he would have found himself in that, I'm going to get a lot of money path. It might be a little less money, but I think because of that third year that I think they're going to give him, it gives them an opportunity to get him solidly paid.
We talked about this at the beginning of the season when Daniel Jones looked like an MVP caliber quarterback, that he was going to get the Baker Mayfield deal. 3 years, $40 to $45 million. I thought, Daniel Jones is going to get paid like a real quarterback now. Can you, in good faith, sign Daniel Jones, knowing that 33% of your investment into Daniel Jones is just basically going out the window. Daniel Jones isn't playing in the 2026 season. So is there a team out there that's going to say we are totally, completely fine with signing up for not our entire investment? Maybe, because Daniel Jones may have shown enough in the first 6-7 weeks of the season to say, yes, he can be our solution, our stopgap quarterback. He can be our next Sam Darnold, our next Baker Mayfield. But also, that would be a tough one to swallow if I were a general manager.
I think it's the Colts and only the Colts. Nobody else would give them that money. I think the Colts could. What about wide receiver? Let's take a look at wide receiver. There are some big names on the wide receiver market that are going to be out there, at least in theory right now, without seeing the franchise tag yet. So, Caroline, who you got getting the bag this offseason there?
Well, George Pickens is going to get the bag, but that feels like obvious. That feels like low-hanging fruit. Like George Pickens is going to get the bag. He's going to sign with the Dallas Cowboys. Whether he's playing under the tag or whether the Cowboys sign him to a longer-term deal, George Pickens is making some money.
Before we move off of George, I will say this, I loudly and proudly. For anyone that thinks, oh, I don't know about George, I don't know about his past, it doesn't matter. George Pickens is clearly the best wide receiver that could come to the open market. If in any way, shape, or form he hits the open market, he will become one of, if not the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL, not because he's the best, but because there are wide receiver needy teams. He has shown he can be a number one. Somebody will give him a massive amount of money. So if you're a Cowboys fan sitting there saying, take a discount, take a discount, take a discount, just understand that his agent's in his ear saying, if we don't take a discount, now, I fully expect the Cowboys will franchise him. I fully expect the Cowboys will keep him. That franchise tag's around $29 million. But if he doesn't get franchised, the bidding war will be gross on George Pickens.
And it should be.
In a good way. Gross in a good way.
It absolutely should be. But if George Pickens is going to be the low-hanging fruit, that's not what we're about here on this show.
No.
So I'll go in a little bit of a deeper cut, and I'll go Rashid Shaheed. I don't think Rashid Shaheed's going to make the $35-38 million wide receiver mega deal like any wide receiver one across the league is going to make, because I don't think Rashid Shaheed is that. But compared to maybe what Rashid Shaheed's market has been previously, he's going to upgrade that 1,000% because he can be an incredibly reliable and versatile wide receiver too, and his contribution in special teams. Just ask Sean McVay, maybe if he would have wanted to invest just a little bit more in the Rams special teams this past season. So I think Rashid Shaheed's going to get the bag. Also.
I like that by you a lot because it's a little off the radar and it makes total sense. I'll give you another sort of off the radar. Alec Pierce is somebody with the Colts that maybe we haven't paid a lot of attention to, but it reminds me a lot of Christian Kirk. Remember a few years ago when Christian Kirk just got a massive amount of money from the Jags and everybody said, oh my God, why are you doing that? Alec Pierce is one of those guys. He's been productive in that Colts offense, as productive as he can be given the quarterback situation that they've had. He's somebody that NFL heads really like. I think Alec Pierce has a chance. While he's not going to get this bank-breaking, I'm going to learn how to speak, contract out of this, I think it's going to be more money than people expect for somebody like him. So I think Alec Pierce is a name to keep out there that's going to get too much cash. What about the running back? You never pay a running back until you don't have one, and then you need one. Is there a running back out there you like?
I'm very anti you never pay a running back. Run the damn ball is my philosophy. I think Rico Dowdle is going to get paid. I mean, he's only making $1.1 million with the Carolina Panthers this past year, but he was over 1,000-yard rusher. So I'm looking at so many teams across the league whose running backs are going to be looking for a massive payday. Look at Travis Etienne in Jacksonville. If you're Jacksonville, are you going to pay Travis Etienne top of the running back market money? Or are you going to be looking at Rico Dowdle and say, okay, we'll sign him to $6 million over the next couple of years and sign up for 1,000-yard rusher who could instantly take games over. A big reason why the Carolina Panthers found themselves in the postseason and winning the division is because Rico Dowdle single-handedly took over a handful of games for the Carolina Panthers this past season. So I don't think Rico Dowdle is going to be getting Derrick Henry, Bijan Robinson type of money, but Rico Dowdle is getting a big-time pay bump this offseason.
I agree with that wholeheartedly, and I'll give you somebody else that we're going to watch on Sunday that I think is about to get a massive just Brinks truck deal for the running back relative to that position. And that's Kenneth Walker III. You and I have worked a lot in college football. My man crush on Kenneth Walker III goes all the way back to Michigan State. I've said this many times. On the annual anniversary of Mel Tucker getting $100 million from Michigan State as their head coach, he should send flowers to Kenneth Walker III and say, thank you for getting me paid. Because I watched that year of college football. I covered that year of college football. And that offense was hand the ball to Kenneth Walker III and hope to God he saves you. Like, that is what he did at Michigan State, and that's what he does in the NFL. If you go back to the NFC Championship game, I would beg you, don't look at the stat line. Go back instead and actually look at every run of Kenneth Walker III in that game and ask yourselves how many times he went, whoop, made somebody miss, and turned what could have been a 2-yard loss into a 3-yard gain. There is so much equity to that. I think Kenneth Walker III is the type of running back that can be a star on his own. I don't think Seattle's going to let him get out the door if they could do anything to avoid it. But the fact is, with Kenneth Walker III out here as a possibility, there is somebody that's going to look at it and say, hey, we don't need to split carries here. We've got a bell cow guy that can do a million different things for us, and we can let him be the man. I think Kenneth Walker is going to show the entire world on Sunday exactly how good he can be, and that's also going to help catapult a massive payday.
And I think Zach Charbonnet's injury has only boosted up Kenneth Walker's value. Whenever you have a two-headed monster and one part of that goes down and Kenneth Walker says, no worries, I got this. I can carry the brunt of the load by myself. I can be that bell cow back. Well, then your value only goes up. But I don't think it's a coincidence, Fitzy, that I mentioned Rashid Shaheed at the wide receiver position. You mentioned Kenneth Walker at the running back position. It's crazy what getting to the Super Bowl does. Mo money, mo problems around here.
It's also a reminder that really well-run teams have GMs. Like, we sit here and say, nothing ever happens at the trade deadline that really matters in the NFL. And the Seahawks are like, hold on just a second. We're going to find a piece that helps us get into the Super Bowl. All right, let's think wild card here. All right, let's think outside the box, not just the regular positions. Give me somebody else that just at a random position you believe could completely reset the market.
Fitzy, special teams wins championships. Brandon Aubrey's going to get the bag this offseason. If you have a kicker that can hit from 60 plus, you pay the man whatever he wants, especially with the new kickoff rules in the NFL. You get the ball at the 30, you get 1 first down. All of a sudden, you can talk about kicking it. All of a sudden, you're entering into field goal range. You want to tell the Baltimore Ravens the value of a kicker? Because I watched Tyler Loop be the difference between the Baltimore Ravens going to Cancun and going to the postseason. So if I'm the Cowboys, I'm taking that reliability and that comfort that comes from knowing that you have a kicker that can hit from midfield.
I mean, I'm looking it up right now. Harrison Butker makes $6.4 million on average. Jake Elliott for the Eagles makes $6 million. Dicker the kicker, 5.5. You're right. He's going
to reset the kicker.
He's going to crush. And this is something that we talked about from the minute that they changed the kickoff rules, because you're so right. 1 first down when he is your kicker, especially at the end of halves. Think about, we are seeing NFL teams completely change their 2-minute strategy and how they work the clock, because they know that if they score with enough time to even let the other team get to midfield, you might be giving up. So now all of a sudden, what's the point of kicking a field goal? Like, we're seeing more aggressive coaching on 4th and short inside 2 minutes, because what's the point of kicking that field goal when you're going to give them 40 seconds and all they need is 1 first down to match point for point? You're 1,000% right. He is a weapon and deserves to be. Kickers are football players too.
Kickers are people too. Tell your friends.
Look at that. Be sure to tell Pat. All right, I'll get you one more. And look, I was going to go with Trey Hendrickson here, but we've all heard Trey Hendrickson. That's boring. I'm taking my entire wad of cash here. I'm taking every ounce of this cash, and I'm giving it all to one man.
Baller.
I know. Like, look, this is me going into the club and saying, look, all of this for you. And that all goes to Tyler Linderbaum, the center for the Baltimore Ravens. Now, most of you are saying, my God, why are you talking about a fat guy? I am talking about a fat guy because, as I remind everybody all the time on this show, there are not 32 quality left tackles, right tackles, centers, guards in the NFL. There aren't enough. And they're not coming out of college available to make an immediate impact at a high enough rate to change that. So now you've got somebody with the Ravens in a little bit of a prickly salary cap situation. What the Ravens really need is Lamar to agree to a long-term deal so they can get some of his salary cap hit out, and then they can franchise Tyler Linderbaum, which frankly would make a ton of sense. If Lamar won't do that, if the Ravens can't franchise him, then it becomes a matter of where does he want to go? And certainly people will say he wants to stay with Harbaugh and go to the Giants. Certainly people will say maybe he wants to stay in Baltimore because he's comfortable. I believe that when this cycle hits, if he hits the open market, he will become by far the highest paid center in the history of the NFL. It will break the market. It will change the way offensive linemen are paid all across the league. So I would caution everybody to presume what we think, because he might sit there right now and say, yeah, I definitely want to stay in Baltimore. And then his agent's going to call when free agency opens, and he's going to say, they offered me how much? So he can have my whole You can have my whole wad of cash.
And that's a lot of cash. I mean, in our real, genuine $100 bills that we're using here. Continuity and consistency for Lamar Jackson. When you're bringing in a new head coach and you're bringing a new offensive coordinator, there is more change happening in Baltimore than there ever has since Lamar Jackson got drafted. I don't think that we can overstate that relationship and that level of comfort between a quarterback and their center. I mean, ask Peyton Manning about Jeff Saturday, ask Jalen Hurts about Jason Kelsey. Having that guy that you trust, having that level of relationship is invaluable.
You're 1,000% right. It always, like, everybody thinks they know what they'll do until there's just a massive amount of cash in front of them. I would love to have a little, like, camera hidden in Linderbaum's house when he gets the call of what the offers are from the street, just to see the look on his face. It could be transcendent. Obviously, plenty to come on that. But as we sat here yesterday in San Francisco, as we sat here hanging out with Golden State, the NBA trade rumors just went everywhere. Yesterday was a wild day. We got a trade, we got rumors, we got everything you could possibly ask for and more. The question is, does it actually make a difference that Harden is headed to Cleveland? We'll answer that next.
Give us your breakout fighters of 2026.
You're not going to believe that. Number one is Manchester top teams, Atiba Gutierrez. I think he's going to be the next big African star, already is.
He's chiseled out of stone. He's got unbelievable power, great skill, huge for the weight class. Very, very impressive. And again, you speak to the guys over at Manchester top team, they could not be more excited about his potential.
Usually I would dunk on a team that's 8-9 going to the playoffs. You don't deserve it. For Carolina, celebrate it. This was a big step forward season. However you got there, you wanted some hope. You wanted something to be happy about. You backed into it, fine. I don't care. The Panthers did have some quality wins this year. They did seem to be making progress. So for the Panthers, hey, step forward, good job, celebrate it. It's a really nice year for the Carolina Panthers to win this division no matter how they did it.
I don't know how anyone could expect Kalen DeBoer to get Alabama back to where Nick Saban had it, because he's not going to. I would suggest to you that had Nick Saban stuck around at Alabama, he wasn't getting Alabama back to where Nick Saban had it a decade prior. And that's Nick literal Saban. I don't think Kirby Smart's getting Georgia back to what Georgia was a few years ago. Dabo's not going to get Clemson back to what Clemson was. It's almost like the entire world has changed.
Oh, let's get to another factory of sadness. The Atlanta Falcons, who fired Raheem Morris after 2 8-9 seasons.
You got Bijan Robinson, you got Drake London. That was what Raheem Morris said when they asked him, why did you take this job?
Yep.
And
That's
you still
it.
got those guys. And you still got those two guys.
Breaking, the Clippers are trading James Harden to the Cavs for Darius Garland and a second-round pick. Per Shams, that came yesterday after we had heated debates on whether or not it could happen and what difference it would make. So now we got to figure out what we make of all of it, and that's where we bring in our power third here. Dan Titus been with us every day. Like, we're just, we're tagging you into the ring over and over, and every time he's like, all right, I'll come clean up your mess. I appreciate it.
Deadline week,
Yeah, I mean, this is
for real.
We are in San Francisco for the Super Bowl, but it works out perfectly because we get to hang out with you in person. So let's talk a little bit about this, because it comes together. We didn't really think it would come together at first, and now we get it. So what's your initial reaction?
Just the speed. I mean, we were sitting here a couple of days ago and been like, we don't know what's going to happen. Is it Giannis? Who is it? And then the mystery surprise, James Harden wants out. And then within a day, they figure it out. Just overnight, we get the announcement that he's going to Cleveland. And I think it just speaks to just how this all came together. James Harden is not known for these easy, non-messy exits. And all of a sudden, like, this was super easy. All it took was a simple contract match, and then next thing you know, throwing a second-round pick to get it over the finish line, and the deal is done. And I think it works out for both teams, because the Los Angeles Clippers wanted to get younger. They got Darius Garland, a former two-time All-Star, and they don't have to pay Harden long-term, which is exactly what they didn't want to do. So, and Cleveland has the chance to make that push for a potential contending, championship. We'll see. I don't know.
I love this for Cleveland, honestly, because you move on from Darius Garland, a guy who is undersized and is always hurt. Your best ability is your availability, and he has not been largely available. James Harden, even at 36 years old, he's available. He played 79 games last year. I think that James Harden makes the Cleveland Cavaliers a better basketball team. But you can always push back. The but.
There's always the but with James. There's always the but.
Game 7 James Harden performances, James Harden postseason performances. So where do you kind of even out here? Yes, James Harden makes the Cavs better, but
I mean, I think if he makes them a championship contender right now, we got to have a different conversation about James, because I think the narrative around James Harden is, you're right, he blows it in the playoffs, not clutch. But I think we're also discounting how great he's been. He has been a consummate pro. He's averaging 25 points and 8 assists at 36. He was a snub from the All-Star team. And I think there's just a lot of narrative around James just bailing on teams. And I think that discourse is actually pretty funny, because there's always a little bit of nuance to every situation, right? Brooklyn would have worked out if Kyrie, was available. I think Houston probably would have worked out if they just completely didn't dismantle the team that actually was successful pushing Game 7 with the Warriors in their heyday. And then if you look at, the Clippers, he was holding them together. And I think James, in the player empowerment era, is doing exactly what he should be doing. He should be trying to go get his money. And everybody's been playing with his money. Started with Daryl Morey, and then, it goes into Houston, and then, with the Clippers. He wants his money, and I think he's going to get it now. So I think this is a good move for them. I think Cleveland, are they a championship team? I don't know yet, but I think that they've made themselves better. And to your point, you don't have to worry about the unavailability of Darius Garland. James Harden's going to play.
And by the way, I don't disagree with anything you just said. I mean, I think for me, when we have these conversations about KD and going to get the rings the way he did, I don't care. I don't care about that. Right? For Harden, I don't care how many teams he plays on. Guy wants to look out for his own money. Every single person watching this right now would do the same damn thing.
He doesn't want to get paid.
To go get more money somewhere else, you'd be like, I'm going to do that. I think this all, but there is a lot of legacy conversation. We had the debate yesterday, because I said I didn't like this move going in. I'm going to stay consistent. I don't think it really moves the needle now. But what would a championship do for Harden's legacy to you?
I think it puts him in a different tier, because right now he's stuck in this CP3, Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, uber talented regular season guys that aren't clutch in the playoffs and when it matters most. But let's not forget, Dirk Nowitzki also had a similar narrative to him before he got one late in his career. Also Jason Kidd. So I think that this could be the pendulum that swings James Harden from, yes, he was a great, all-time great Hall of Famer, but he won despite all of the different situations and nuance. I'm not dismissing his playoff blunders and all that, but I think it gives another layer to how much he had an impact on this game. And to get a championship at 36 in this economy, that'd be a great way to end this story for James Harden.
And again, I don't disagree with anything you just said. For me, personally, I don't look at Patrick Ewing as any less of a player because he didn't get a ring.
Right.
I don't look at Chris Paul as any less of a player because he didn't get a ring. I don't really care that Harden doesn't have a ring. My argument with Harden has always been, all right, you choked in Game 7. Over 27 is a real thing. The number of times, as I said yesterday, clutch moments, he forgets how to basketball. So, yeah, I guess if he goes in and he single-handedly, like Superman, leads the Cavs and they're all following behind Harden and they win a championship, maybe I already respect the hell out of James Harden. I don't think it changes the way I feel about him because I already feel like he's a top, 50, 75, somewhere in that range player.
50, 75?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with being top 50.
75?
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
Oh, my God.
Where do you put him now versus if he wins a championship?
He's top 30 now easily, without question. Without question. The championship, he's top 20. He's top 20. He's top 20, top 25 with the championship.
Why in a team sport? Why does the individual why does one
individual? He's quite literally changed modern basketball. Steph Curry changed it, yes, but James Harden has just as much as his fingerprints on it too. The way that ISO ball has been played, the advanced analytics, Daryl Morey single-handedly built an offense, a heliocentric offense around him. He is top 10. He's top 10 in scoring right now. He's going to be top 10 in assists. He's top 2 in threes. And let's not forget, he's a top 5 shooting guard of all time. So if you get a ring on top of that resume with the MVP, with the All-Star appearances, carrying multiple franchises, that's a top 20 player. If he gets a ring, he's going to be better than Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce. He's going to be better than all of them.
Does he automatically jump above any great player that we view as a great player that doesn't have a ring?
That doesn't have a ring. Yeah, Allen Iverson.
Championships have to change things.
Do they though?
And that's why. I think
because to my point, everything you just said, everything you just said is true. So what we think of Harden should just be what we think of Harden. Like at some point, we take the body of work and we say, okay, it's almost like the Olympics where they take out the best score and the worst score, and they're like, this is who you are. Yeah. All right. So a championship to me, maybe we take out some of the negative of the way he played in those clutch moments. But like, I'm not looking. If I were today to make a list of the greatest players of all time in the NBA, I'm not going to look at Patrick Ewing and be like, well, I got to put Robert Horry above you because look at how many Big Shot Bob titles there are. Like, I'm not going to make a different sport, but I'm not going to make Dan Marino worse than Trent Dilfer ever in my life just because Trent Dilfer has a Super Bowl. Absolutely. So to me, like,
but Trent Dilfer also doesn't have the accolades. But he's got a ring. He doesn't have.
But Dirk is Dirk. And Kid is Kid. And without a title, I would still say Dirk is like body of work is body of work. There is so much luck. Like we look at last year, like when we look at Oklahoma City beating Indiana, we'll never know how much of that, with no discredit to Oklahoma City, who I think I lead the street team for on this show. But like we'll never know how much of that was Indiana with a ruptured Achilles, with the calf injury. Like we'll never know. There's so much luck involved in a championship. I will never let a legacy conversation come down to whether or not somebody got lucky or not. So, like, I mean, let's be honest. If Harden wins a title with the Cavs, but it's really like Harden's the third best player on the Cavs, you know First Take's going to lead the next day's show with how much credit do we really give Harden? Like, it's just so asinine to me that we turn a body of work is a body of work. And a championship is a great thing in a team sport. But this is not Michael Phelps swimming against the rest of the world. This is a team sport. And you got to get lucky to get a chip. I'm not going to move somebody 20 spots up the greatest of all time list because they were lucky enough to have Michael Jordan as a teammate. You either think Scottie Pippen is a top player or you don't think Scottie Pippen's a top player.
But I think if you're looking at offensive players all time, James Harden is 100% top 25, 30 players we've ever seen. I think that Chris Paul hamstring, he could have beaten one of the best teams of all time in the midst of that dynasty. And that's why that luck factor really plays a part. Everyone forgets that James Harden was averaging like 29 points in that series, absolutely cooking. They remember Game 7. And that's what we remember in legacy. So I think that there's a point in time where, you know, if the Cleveland Cavaliers can actually pull this off, and he's not even the primary player, it's still a great success story to his resume because not many people at that age are playing his caliber of basketball, impacting winning the way that he is. And I think that when it's all said and done, he's going to impact, I think we can say that he impacted winning more than most players that the Patrick Ewings, there's a long list of those 90s players that really I would put him a tier above because he just changed the game.
And I think we could have the debate all day long, but in order for us to have that debate of where does a championship put James Harden in the greatest of all time list, he has to win one. Yeah. And while I do believe that the Cavs are closer to winning a championship with James Harden, they're still not going to be a top 3 NBA Finals championship favorite waking up today after a James Harden trade. With that being said and with that understood, how do you now power rank the East now that James Harden is in Cleveland?
I mean, Cleveland was like, they're number 5 right now. I think that that's still a pretty safe. That's a safe place for them. I mean, with Boston, if you look at New York, they're okay right now. Cat's going through it a little bit, but I still trust New York over them right now. Like I don't think
Cleveland, Cavs, Knicks Pistons, in a playoff series right now. You're taking the Knicks.
I take the Knicks.
Woo!
I take the Knicks because Evan Mobley's hurt right now. So like, unless he comes back fully healthy, we got to make some assumptions here. But for right now, I'll take the Knicks. Yeah. So you got the Pistons. Then I would probably go with the Celtics, Sixers, Knicks, Cavs. In some order, move one or two a different way, but like it's pretty much those are the 5.
So I'm sorry, I'm just that guy. Doesn't this come back to my point from yesterday then? What the hell's the point? Like if you're Cleveland, huzzah! Now you're the third best team in the East. What is the like? We're all doing cartwheels over this or reacting to it because it's the name James Harden. But if we were just in real life, we're not playing 2K here, right? In real life, how big of an impact does this really make to that?
I mean, time will tell. I mean, there's going to take time to acclimate, playing. But I think that this is going to be great for Jared Allen. Every place that Harden goes, when he has a big man, that two-man game is so critical. And when you have a playmaker of the age of Donovan Mitchell who can raise the ceiling of this team, I think this is going to be a really fun team to watch come postseason. And I think we could dispel a lot of that Harden hate because he won't have to shoulder the load. That's when Harden's at his best in the postseason. He'll win you a couple of games, and then he'll pass the rock to somebody else to go take care of the rest. And I think that team is built enough and insulated enough. If you look at the other moves that Cleveland did in acquiring Keon Ellis and the other name escapes me, but they will Shedeur. Yes, thank you. They have the depth now. This team can be dangerous come playoff time. But there's another team that just made a move that I also feel like could be dangerous too in the Boston Celtics that if they get their guy back, that's just going to be the game changer for the Eastern Conference. And I think that's why Cleveland made a move like that because they're like, hey, we're not competing right now to the level that we need to. We need to do something different. We need to get somebody that's going to play. James Harden, get in the building. Let's take it to the next level.
There have been reports, though, that the Cavs might not be done. There have been reports that the Cavs are picking up the phone and calling Milwaukee. What's it going to take to get Giannis in Cleveland?
Of course there are. Everyone's calling Milwaukee right now.
I am. I called Milwaukee and I said, what's it going to take? What if Giannis lands in Cleveland?
I mean, damn. Yeah, they're the top. They'd be the top seed. Yeah, for sure.
What's the likelihood of that happening in your opinion?
Unlikely. His contract, they'd have to move probably they'd have to move too many pieces to make it work. And I think what they're building now, they're building flexibility to acquire someone either in the offseason or the next year after that. So I think they did a great job of clearing the cap space, bringing in guys that can help them win now. But, they're going to pay James Harden, but at the same time, they're not going to pay him what their, Clippers were paying him. His market's dwindling. So I think that they can work out. And James Harden's been very open about taking pay cuts. He's done it in multiple situations. So I think that they're actually building for next year. And who knows, maybe LeBron makes a return back to Cleveland to end his career.
Does all of this make the rest of the East more aggressive right now before the trade deadline, trying to keep up with the Joneses?
Boston made a move. And, Chicago's not in contention, but they got to do some things too. But I think Boston getting Vooch was a very underrated move because while Neemias Queta is a good big man, they needed someone that can stretch the floor. And Vooch is still a very capable rebounder, cone on defense, but that's why you have that timeshare. And if you bring in Jason Tatum, he's looked great in his workouts. We don't know when his potential return is, but Boston's playing so well. Why would they not bring him back by postseason? As a Philly guy, I just have a funny feeling that the Sixers are going to meet the Boston Celtics in the first round, and Tatum's going to come back and wipe them out of the playoffs like they always do.
Quickly before we get you out of here, the Clippers' perspective of this.
They won. You flipped James Harden for a 26-year-old former All-Star. And granted, Darius Garland has his injury concerns. Got to fix that toe. But if you're talking about rebuilding a team, Kawhi Leonard's going to come off the books in a couple years. You have a star point guard that you can build around, and you still have Ivica Zubac there. Nice two-man game. They can press the reset button. Not going to hurt that as bad. And, you just replaced James Harden with a 26-year-old. That's exactly how you want to rebuild your franchise. So I think they did the right thing. I don't know how many other players you would have gotten for James Harden at that caliber. So they won there.
The one thing I know is that we'll keep a cop for you in the back because I'm sure inevitably we'll be back with you tomorrow. Dan Titus,
news.
Read him on Yahoo Sports. Obviously, follow him on social media and appreciate your expertise, appreciate your insight.
Always, guys.
And this is just wild week, man.
Wild.
We appreciate you guys don't understand. He's trying to live a normal life. We're like, come back. So really appreciate you hanging out with us.
26 hours and 30 minutes for things to get really spooky.
Don't leave the building because Giannis is going. So just stay sure.
I'm camped out. We're ready to go.
All right, coming up next, we'll get back to the NFL. A press conference for the ages yesterday for Todd Monken, and he said some pretty staggering things about that man. We'll tell you about it next.
One school that's doing some work in there right now, very quietly, is the Florida Gators. At the time of us taping this, Florida is sitting there with a top 10 class. And you're like, JD, wait a second. Florida's got a top 10 class? Who have they added? And I think this portal class in general for John Summerall is a good reflection of just the overall vibe, attitude, persona of what you're going to get from John Summerall during his time in Gainesville.
And I've been thinking about the Denver Nuggets here for a little bit. Jamal Murray's gonna have to carry a torch during this program. Like I know it's the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air looking around and no furniture around, but hey, he's gonna have to figure it out. What I will say that helps Denver is the return of this version of Aaron Gordon. And I very specifically mean this version of Aaron Gordon. And I know you might have a twinge of concern that he may do too much, but it was good early and they need it now.
Have you had a chance to kind of unpack all of it?
Yeah, I don't know that I have yet. I think it's just another reminder of how wild pro football can be. I've lived it so many times. I mean, I think going back a little over 2 years ago when I tore my Achilles to now, there's been a lot of curveballs and a lot of change. And I was told a long time ago in pro football, you got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I'm reminded of that time and again.
How long do you feel like that window is with Lamar, though?
I think you can get 2 more years of Lamar as a locked-in top 5 guy. And then I think after that is when it's like, okay, maybe he ages to more being a top 12 guy, which is still good. Maybe more of a tier 2 guy in my brain. And then it kind of ages from there. Russ went from like a tier 2 guy that fell off to a tier 3, tier 4 guy. You're going to have that drop off at some point in your career.
New Browns head coach Todd Monken wouldn't commit to Shedeur Sanders as the team's starting quarterback, though he said he's excited to work with Sanders and all of the quarterbacks. Monken spoke yesterday for the first time as the head coach of the Cleveland Browns in the sort of press conference that I'm not going to lie had a lot of people wanting to run through walls. Like the guy's definitely got sort of a thing, right? Like he's got an it sort of when he talks, and I think Browns fans are pretty excited. But he said some things that were really blunt and honest. This is one of them, Caroline. And I know people are just suddenly screaming, but to me, I'm not sure what other answer you could get from a new head coach that's come in this building, and all he has is what limited time he's had to look at any film. Like, what do we expect him to say in this situation?
If the most salacious thing that a new head coach can say in his introductory press conference in the Cleveland Browns situation is, I don't know who's going to be our starting quarterback, I would consider that a win. Because do any of us really feel like the quarterback position in Cleveland is signed, sealed, delivered Shedeur Sanders is? Of course not. That would be ridiculous. And why would Todd Monken put himself in that position on day 1, day 4, day 5 of the job and saying, yep, 1,000% Shedeur Sanders is our starting quarterback? It's not like Joe Brady saying that Josh Allen is the Bills' starting quarterback. That's a completely different situation. What Todd Monken is doing is saying, I'm really excited about Shedeur Sanders. I'm also really excited about this entire quarterback room. And I think that's the right way to say, because I don't know if I would necessarily call the Browns quarterback room exciting. But it's the right thing for Todd Monken to say. Don't back yourself into a corner when you have a quarterback situation that is totally and completely, in flux. Even though Shedeur Sanders is a Pro Bowler.
Yeah, that's the thing. But like,
whatever
look,
that means.
Let's change the headline to this: new head coach won't commit to 5th round, 2nd year starting quarterback. Like when you say it that way, what's the big deal? And I think Monken did a beautiful job at his press conference in general to talking to the players. Whether he was talking about the defensive schemes, he made it clear, how much he adores the defensive side of the ball and the work that those players have done. I think this was also a message to the quarterback room, and the right message, because at some point the message is a little bit to Shedeur. Hey, I'm going to make you compete for it. You're not going to be handed anything. Certainly, I don't think Shedeur's earned the right to be handed anything. We haven't really seen enough to sit there and say, oh, yeah, they've got the quarterback situation addressed. I think he's also sending a message to the rest of the quarterback room. Hey, you're still in this thing. New coaching staff, I'm going to let you compete too. You don't want Dylan Gabriel and Deshaun Watson to think that this whole thing is done when you haven't even had a chance to look at it yet. This just makes common sense to me. I think by the time we get into next season, there are a couple of things that we can see the writing on the wall. For number one, I think it would be crazy if the Browns don't bring in another quarterback to compete, especially through training camp. I know 4 quarterbacks on the roster is a lot, but there's no solid answer in that quarterback room as it stands right now. So to me, bringing in an outside quarterback makes a ton of sense. And then let them all compete. And frankly, if I'm a Browns fan right now, what I don't want is anyone to be handed the keys to the castle. I want somebody to earn the keys to the castle. And I don't care if that's Shedeur. I don't care if it's Dillon. I don't care if it's Watson. I don't care if it's Malik Willis that we said earlier could get paid this offseason. I don't care who it is. I want somebody to go in and win the job. That's what's best for the team, is to find the best starting quarterback. So how do you think it plays out then? As we're sitting here over the summer, what happens to the quarterback situation?
That's what I think about the quarterback situation in Cleveland. I think Shedeur Sanders is the starting quarterback going into next season. Do I think that Shedeur is going to be the starting quarterback forever and always in Cleveland? I don't know. But what Shedeur Sanders has shown me, and I think a big fraction of football fans out there, is, look, there is something that you can work with there. There is enough there to say, okay, we can run it back with him. I think Dillon Gabriel is the backup, and frankly, I think Deshaun Watson just continues to kind of lurk in the shadows and be irrelevant in Cleveland. They're not going to move on from Deshaun Watson because that would put them into cap hell for the rest of eternity. I think they just kind of continue with Deshaun Watson. You know, they swallow their medicine of the worst trade in sports history. They're not going to continue to punish themselves for the Deshaun Watson trade. They're not going to cut him. They're going to continue to pay him. He's not going to see the field. You're going to see what you have in Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel, and then you make up your mind at the end of the season. If Shedeur and Dillon Gabriel are so bad that you have made your mind up that neither of these guys are our future starting quarterback, well, then you probably are bad enough to get a top 3 pick to take your future quarterback, or at least take a swing on your future quarterback in next year's draft. Yes, that's a dangerous approach, because you never know what next year's draft class is really going to shape up to be. But I think that's the Browns' approach moving forward. You have to see what you have in your young guys.
It makes a ton of sense. I remind everybody, you can't ensure that you will outsuck everybody. There were 4 teams in the NFL that won 3 games. 4 teams won 3 games. One of them is picking 4th. So if that were to happen next year in a stacked quarterback class, you could win 3 games and find yourself out of the quarterback market. So it's a wild world to live in. I think it depends on what the Browns really assess. And it would be foolish to think that Todd Monken has figured out who this team is yet. Like, one thing we always do with coaches, we presume the minute they walk into the door that they fully understand the roster. They don't. Mm-hmm. They've looked at a little bit of film. They've made a plan for how they would develop based on what they've been able to watch. But this is when they start ripping the roster apart and figuring out what they have. If Todd Monken and the staff looks at the Browns and feels the way I do, that there's a lot of talent there, then they may want to put themselves in a situation where they try to win football games. Yeah. If they're trying to win football games, this quarterback conversation is much different than, to your point, if they get in there and realize, man, we just don't have what it takes. We need to suck this year. Yeah. There are very different scenarios. Most likely to me, it makes sense that Dillon Gabriel would be the odd man out, because it certainly felt like ownership, according to many reports, fell in love with Shedeur. They wanted him drafted. Last time I checked, Jimmy Haslam is still the owner of the team. So I don't see that changing. We didn't see a video of Dillon Gabriel walking in and, bro hugging and dapping up Todd Monken, right?
Tried to draft you last year.
Didn't see any of that. So I think Dillon Gabriel weirdly becomes the odd man out. But look, Kevin Stefanski is now in Atlanta. Maybe Dillon Gabriel starts his career as a backup quarterback in that process.
By all reports, love Dillon Gabriel.
Right, 100%. And so then the question becomes, what happens to the rest of the room? I think you're looking at an open competition. And if we're truly in an open competition, again, I would stress, new coaching staff means new opportunities for every single player. Like, you no longer have whatever that guy thought of you lording over anything. You get a fresh start with the coaching staff. I mean, if we're just talking body of work over their entire career, we've seen more proof of concept from Deshaun than we've seen from Shedeur. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see them roll the dice and just see, is there anything left with Deshaun? Can he play? Is there an opportunity? And that even though Deshaun was off the field for obvious reasons and then can't stay healthy, I don't know if his body can cooperate. If his body does cooperate, I think Deshaun is the starting quarterback next year in Cleveland. Shedeur is the backup. Dillon Gabriel is the odd man out. We'll see how an outside quarterback plays into that conversation. But with the pieces they already have, that makes the most sense to my mind.
I don't want to live in a world where Deshaun Watson is a starting quarterback in the NFL. For a lot of reasons, but you bring up another quarterback that they could bring in. I'm looking at the list of free agent quarterbacks, and we've talked about this. It is bleak. Russell Wilson and Marcus Mariota and Zach Wilson and Kenny Pickett and Jimmy Garoppolo and Mitch Trubisky and Case Keenum and Brandon Allen and Carson Wentz. Like, is there any guy in that list, any guy that's going to be on the open market for the Browns to sign that you feel like makes the Browns better? Because right now you have a lot of question marks in that quarterback room. What you would be adding in a Zach Wilson or a Marcus Mariota is just more question marks and not any better quarterback play. And more money that you're going to be paying another quarterback.
I'll agree with you on Zach because I think that's a weird play. Marcus has become the annual, well, we'll just bring in Marcus Mariota. Like that seems to be the new Mariota. That seems to be the new kick. When you said his name, my first thought was, all right, mobile quarterback in an offense that's probably going to ask for some of that. Like,
what does he do for you?
Oh, nothing.
Really?
Nothing. Like, he doesn't help you win games.
Enough games to take you out of the quarterback sweepstakes next season.
Yeah, and maybe you buy that he can come in and sort of be that veteran presence in the locker room, but I don't even know if I buy that, honestly. Like, I wish that I could, for the sake of the Browns, because again, I think the Browns, if you look at their defense, if you look at their running game, I think they need some help in some skill position areas. They need some help in the offensive line. They have the opportunity to address that. If they could find a path to a quarterback, I think the Browns could take a massive leap next year. I just don't think a path to the quarterback. Like, this is one of those things where, like, people in hell want ice water. Like, Cleveland needs a quarterback. Todd Monken needs a quarterback. To your point, whether we're talking the draft or unless they take a massive reach on Ty Simpson, or early, it just doesn't.
But again, like, what's the point of that?
You're right. I mean, Ty Simpson feels like a reach at the quarterback position. I think Cleveland's best bet is just to suffer through a bad year. But also, I question, to your point, is their defense so good that they won't be able to lose enough games to be the worst of the worst of the worst? I don't know, but that's going to be the question mark. We'll ask Nate Tice joining us a little later in the show. Nate Tice is going to join us. We'll get Nate's thoughts on all things Shedeur, all things Browns from his quarterback mind of expertise and brilliance. But coming up next, while we're having legacy conversations in the NBA, let's have one in the NFL. What would a Super Bowl win actually mean for Drake Maye?
Penn State has imported Iowa State. It's the best way I could explain it. Penn State has now taken Rocco Becht. They took RB1. They took wide receiver 1. They took 3 offensive linemen. I detest that this is how college football works at the moment, but it's the way it works at the moment. And that is, when you take a head coach, part of the thinking behind hiring the head coach is who he can bring with him. And in Matt Campbell's case, it was basically whoever he wants.
I'm very fascinated to see which direction they go here, because I think that Roman, this is the deal with him. He's not terrible. He's not offensive as an offensive coordinator, but he can get you to a certain point. You need somebody else to get you to the next point. I think he's done a good job with Herbert, getting him to run more and getting him to push the ball down the field. Now I'd like to see, someone kind of just, again, give him some more quicker options. That's the type of stuff I'd like to see from the next coach.
Tom Aspinall, Cyril Gahn, that needs to be resolved, right? Hamzat Shemaiah versus Sean Strickland. But I will accept Hamzat Shemaiah versus Fluffy Hernandez. If Fluffy beats Sean Strickland, I'll take either of those. Here's another one of my, but you accept these as secondary.
100%.
Armin Sarukian versus UFC lightweight champion. We cannot just keep having Armin doing grappling matches and eating and all this stuff. He
I'm
must
kind of okay
fight
with
for
it.
No, I'm not.
No,
I know you love it.
You get the first pick in the underrated player draft. Who are you taking?
Jalen Duren has never made an All-Star game. He's never made an All-NBA team. He's gotten so much better as a scorer this year. Jalen Duren is like a legit All-Star this year. And so because everybody talks about the Detroit situation like it's trash and Cade Cunningham, I'm going to say he's still a little bit underrated, and he's my number 1 pick.
You're looking there at the yards per attempt leaders, including the playoffs. Drake Maye pushing the ball down the field a little bit more than Sam Darnold, according to Pro Football Focus. We'll get to Darnold tomorrow because there's a quarterback conversation to be had here. But we're going to start with Drake Maye because, frankly, Drake Maye is one of the more complicated quarterback seasons I can remember. I'm going to be honest here. I understand that he's an MVP finalist, and there's been plenty of people that think he will win. He may finish second. Either way, it's been a remarkable season, and his growth under Josh McDaniels has been absolutely incredible. I can take all of that information and then say, okay, Caroline, when you look at all of the great things that he did in the course of the regular season, and you do have to sort of look a little bit, sorry, Patriots fans, about who he did it against, fine. It's been great. We got into the playoffs we've seen a different version. I mean, as much as we've spent part of today's show talking about regular season James Harden versus playoff James Harden and what that means for his legacy, it is only fair after a very short body of work to look at a few playoff games and say, man, this hasn't been Drake Maye's finest hour. But amazingly, all of that gets forgotten. All of that melts away. All of that changes with one thing, a Super Bowl win, right? Like if he goes out, even if he doesn't play well, if he wins in the Super Bowl, it's inevitable, right? We will have to see Drake Maye in a different category no matter what.
And that's what winning a Super Bowl does. And let's say the Patriots do win a Super Bowl. The subsequent conversation will be not just good for Drake Maye, good on Mike Vrabel, what a fun little story that Mike Vrabel was able to win several as a player and then come back as the head coach of the New England Patriots and win the Super Bowl. What we all do, we are so gluttonous for this as sports fans, is just one isn't enough. We have to then move it forward and talk about dynasties. We did this last year when the Eagles won the Super Bowl. We were talking about are the Eagles the next Chiefs, the next Patriots dynasty? Because we come off of this Super Bowl high and we want to spin it forward. We'll do that with Drake Maye. We will say, is Drake Maye the captain of the Patriots' next dynasty? Is Drake Maye the next Tom Brady? Are the Patriots poised to win 5 more Super Bowls under Drake Maye just like they did with Tom Brady? Because we're all living in the Super Bowl bubble, the Super Bowl high, and we just get ahead of ourselves of what comes next. That's going to be the conversation, whether it's fair or not. But I kind of look at Drake Maye and I say right now, from what we've seen from him and a 2-year sample size, which is itty bitty, and just a handful of postseason games, I look at Drake Maye as maybe he's more Jalen Hurts than he is Tom Brady. We had this conversation about Jalen Hurts after the Eagles won the Super Bowls. We wanted to put Jalen Hurts in that same category as Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow. But the reality is, Jalen Hurts just isn't that guy, and that's okay. There are a lot of quarterbacks in the National Football League who can elevate their teams at times, but they don't consistently do that at an elite level like the elite quarterbacks in the league. I think Jared Goff is one of those quarterbacks. He can step up and carry his team sometimes, but for the most part, he may be a factor of what's around him. Look at Drake Maye. He threw for 84 yards in the AFC Championship game. Like, he was the beneficiary of an elite lights-out defense also playing against a backup quarterback. So I think where we are right now with Drake Maye, with a small sample size, if the Patriots win a Super Bowl, I think we can look at him more right now as more of a Jalen Hurts than he is a Tom Brady. But can he work himself into a Tom Brady conversation? Yeah, win a few more Super Bowls. Let's see a little bit more of a body of work.
That's where facts don't have to be takes. Like, it can be a fact that the Patriots have played a wildly easy schedule. Doesn't matter. It can be a fact that, right, no team in NFL history has scored less offensive points in 3 games to lead up to the Super Bowl than the New England Patriots have. That's just fact. Those are actual numbers. And so where Patriots fans rightfully so get frustrated, because I would be frustrated. If it was my favorite team in the Super Bowl and everybody spent the entire 2-week lead up telling me that they're just there because they're lucky, I'd be pissed off. I think that's a normal human reaction to this. But your Drake Maye to Jalen Hurts comp really makes me think about the way we talk about quarterbacks. Like, C.J. Stroud had what, our buddy Frank Schwab called the single greatest rookie passing season he'd ever seen. He said at the time on Inside Coverage, I've never seen, even Marino, I've never seen a better rookie year than C.J. Stroud. Now we're sitting here a couple of years later saying, man, I don't know if CJ's really the answer. Like, is there a problem? Like, we sat here a year ago right now, and everybody at the Super Bowl was saying, oh, Washington is about to go on a dominant run. Now, Jaden Daniels' health is part of it, but Washington just absolutely fell off. So I think part of the reason that people are looking with maybe a skeptical eye to everything that's happening in New England is that the eye test matters. Like, context comes from the eye test. So you can't just watch stats. So even if you get out of the box score and you rewatch the Patriots playoff run, which, because I'm a sicko, I've done, it's painful offense. It's out of rhythm. Like, Drake Maye looks uncomfortable. He's running around. He's not throwing guys open. He's waiting till guys are open. He's reckless with the football at times. He's getting beat up. He's just getting hit at a level that is not sustainable. And all of these things are stacking on each other at once. Now, you're about to take on what I think is the best defense you've faced in this entire process, and by far the most explosive offense, right? So Drake's going to have to go point for point. Like, he's going to have to put more than 7 points up, I think, to win the Super Bowl. So there's this weird moment where I want to be respectful and appreciative, especially for fans that are sitting here saying, this is my team in the Super Bowl, and you're dogging on them. It's not that. Like, I want to look at it and say, love, man, this is incredible. The Patriots are there. I also think it's fair to say, okay, the how you got there makes me really wonder if we have the answers that we think we have. Like, Drake Maye might be the weirdest MVP season I've ever seen, because right now, are we going to be thinking about an MVP award? Should he win? Or are we going to be thinking about the fact that he played like you know what throughout the course of the playoffs?
But if the Patriots win a Super Bowl, none of that is going to matter.
Correct.
Like, you don't get an asterisk on a Lombardi because your path was easier than the rest of the field.
Very true.
A Super Bowl is a Super Bowl. I just want to add nuance into the conversation of, if the Patriots do win a Super Bowl, it's okay to say that maybe Drake Maye isn't the next Tom Brady. We wouldn't be having that conversation if he wasn't wearing a Patriots uniform. So I just want to add a little bit of nuance into the conversation, that we don't have to say either he sucks and he's terrible and the Patriots are only here because of their easy path, or he's the next Tom Brady, Mike Vrabel's the next Bill Belichick, and the Patriots are the next great dynasty of the NFL. Sometimes it's in the middle. Most of the time, it's in the middle.
I have a basement full of Vegas Golden Knights Stanley Cup champion stuff. I got all of it. Patriots fans, if you win the Super Bowl, when all of your gear goes on sale, and you buy all of it, like everything, there's not going to be Patriots win and then a tiny little subheader with a really easy schedule and a wild postseason.
You played Jarrett Stidham.
And that's one thing that to me is always funny when people get worked up about this. Who cares? Like, if you turn around and you win the lottery, you've never apologized for being lucky. If as a fan you win the equivalent of the lottery, which is I watch my favorite team win a Super Bowl, and somebody says you're lucky, the answer is damn right. Yeah. Sorry you didn't get my luck. And this comes back, again, we keep coming back to Harden because it's in the news, but it's so much a part of the championship conversation. Drake Maye could go into the Super Bowl and win and play like dog do, and everybody's going to turn around and say, doesn't matter, it's great. Drake Maye could also lose the Super Bowl and have the game of his life. Totally. Matthew Stafford is not the reason that the Rams lost the NFC Championship game. By God, he played an amazing football game. Yeah. It will still go down as a loss in a championship game for Matthew Stafford. So I think the context is why the Patriots are the most difficult championship caliber team I have ever in my career tried to put context around, because they're winning games with the Chiefs, who won lucky so much. We understood why. We're like, oh, Mahomes is superhuman, and that's just Mahomes is the cheat code. I don't know what the cheat code is for the Patriots other than they find weird ways to win, and that's okay. But to your point, if we're going to turn that into what's this mean, Drake Maye versus Tom Brady, that's one of the difficulties of playing for the Patriots. You win one Super Bowl, and inevitably it's like a gateway drug. Mm-hmm. Everyone's like, that's great. Now I need 2. Now I need 3 because Brady did that for us. I think all of us need to pump the brakes on the Patriots and let what has turned out to be a very lucky season and a very fun season be that. And if it wins a championship, man, if anything, I'm jealous my team couldn't get as lucky as their team did. Like, congratulations.
And let's look at the opposite side of it. If the Patriots do lose the Super Bowl, I do feel like the conversation is going to be, is Drake Maye Joe Burrow? Is Drake Maye Dan Marino? You know, a guy who is incredibly ahead of schedule, who found himself in the Super Bowl in the first 2 years of his career. And Joe Burrow now has struggled to even make it into the postseason. Dan Marino had never won a Super Bowl in his career. So then that will be the conversation of, will the Patriots ever get this lucky again? Will Drake Maye be able to follow up an MVP caliber season, getting his team to the Super Bowl in the rest of his career, which again, that same conversation is incredibly hyperbolic. And it's incredibly dramatic. I think the way that we can look at it is saying, look, Drake Maye had an awesome season. The Patriots feel like they are ahead of schedule. The Patriots do have some moves to make that can supplement and bolster up the roster, and the Patriots can find themselves right back in this position again. But they ran into Sam Darnold playing the best football of his career and an elite Seattle Seahawks defense, and the conversation will be, Sam Darnold has finally shaken that scarlet letter of can't win the big one, and he went from bust to Super Bowl champion. But then the Sam Darnold conversation will be, is he just Nick Foles? Which, again, is not fair. So much of these narratives aren't fair and lack nuance and lack background.
I'm going to ask the guys if they could put the graphic back up that we just had up, and it was the top 5 youngest quarterbacks to ever start in the Super Bowl. Dan Marino never got back. Ben Roethlisberger won 1. Brock Purdy, right?
1-1.
We know where that is. And then David Woodley. Frankly, I'm going to be honest. I don't even remember when David Woodley was in the Super Bowl or what that remembers for the rest. This is pre my time. What that means for the rest of it.
Yeah, sorry to this man. I don't know who that is.
But that is, if there has ever been a graphic that shows you stop caring about what could happen and just appreciate the pressure of this moment. Because to your point, man, when Joe Burrow went to the Super Bowl and he wasn't even on that list, what's the first thing we said after he lost?
He'll be back.
100%. And that's part of the reason that I would tell Patriots fans, like, hey, like you got to sort of absorb this moment, lucky or not, because I don't know that right now. Like I looked at Joe Burrow and that early Bengals team, and I thought, hell yeah, if they just did that to the Chiefs, they're going to be fine. And now every year we sit there and say, oh, it's just going to be another year where Burrow puts up great numbers, and then all of a sudden it doesn't really result in anything. From the flip side of it, as much as we want to sit here, and this is what we will do on Monday, we'll ask ourselves, what's it mean for the future of Drake Maye? Man, I don't think as football fans, especially that's not even modern football. In modern football, getting back to the Super Bowl is a monster, right? So like this presumption that this is the beginning of anything for either of these teams. We asked the dynasty question yesterday, who's about to have a better 5-year run? I mean, the honest answer is, boy, you better get it right then, because how stunned are we right now that we didn't get the Bills, the Ravens, the Eagles? Like, we didn't get these teams making any sort of noise this year when the window is open. And it's just a reminder that, like, you have to find a weird way to capitalize when you can.
Well, I just listed off, the elite quarterbacks in the league. Lamar Jackson, never been to a Super Bowl. Josh Allen, never been to a Super Bowl. I mean, they just fired their coach because they've been constantly banging on the door of a Super Bowl, but haven't been able to break through. We are all, I think, desensitized to how difficult it is to win championships in sports, period, because we've seen so many great dynasties. Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes have kind of ruined for all of us how difficult it really is to get to a championship, that we can't just take it at face value, that just being here is, for lack of a better word, glorious.
Yeah. Unfortunately, fans have a hard time seeing it that way. We're only days away from the game, and we're only minutes away from one of the best in the entire business. Jay Glazer going to join us next. We'll get, I'm sure, some hot, wild breaking news, but at the very least, I'm going to find out what his bicep routine is. Good God, that's coming up next.
Give us your breakout fighters of 2026.
You're not going to believe that. Number one is Manchester top teams, Atiba Gutierrez. I think he's going to be the next big African star, already is.
He's chiseled out of stone. He's got unbelievable power, great skill, huge for the weight class. Very, very impressive. And again, you speak to the guys over at Manchester top team, they could not be more excited about his potential.
Usually I would dunk on a team that's 8-9 going to the playoffs. You don't deserve it. For Carolina, celebrate it. This was a big step forward season. However you got there, you wanted some hope. You wanted something to be happy about. You backed into it, fine. I don't care. The Panthers did have some quality wins this year. They did seem to be making progress. So for the Panthers, hey, step forward, good job, celebrate it. It's a really nice year for the Carolina Panthers to win this division, no matter how they did it.
I don't know how anyone could expect Kalen DeBoer to get Alabama back to where Nick Saban had it, because he's not going to. I would suggest to you that had Nick Saban stuck around at Alabama, he wasn't getting Alabama back to where Nick Saban had it a decade prior. And that's Nick literal Saban. I don't think Kirby Smart's getting Georgia back to what Georgia was a few years ago. Dabo's not going to get Clemson back to what Clemson was. It's almost like the entire world has changed.
Oh, let's get to another factory of sadness. The Atlanta Falcons, who fired Raheem Morris after 2 8-9 seasons.
You got Bijan Robinson, you got Drake London. That was what Raheem Morris said when they asked him, why did you take this job?
Yep.
And
That's
you still
it.
got those guys. And you still got those two guys.
All right, this tweet, I'm watching Bones. I know it's an old show, well, kind of, but last night there were members of Pentatonics on an episode, and just now I'm pretty sure I saw Jay Glazer in an episode in season 12. Oh, yeah, you did. Sure did. Jay Glazer responds, that was me. Oh, my God. Not only is he one of the best football insiders in the business, he's also a TV star. Come on, Jay. Like, what do we do? Like, how are we getting on Bones?
I'll tell you what happened. So it was, we're doing the Houston Super Bowl, and then Fox was like, hey, we want you to do all these, like shows for us, Bones. But it was like Friday before the start of the season. I'm like, I don't got time for this. I got to get Scoop. I got to do all this stuff. They're like, no, we really want you to do this. So I hadn't seen the show, right? And have you guys watched the show?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So what's his character?
I don't know his name. I've casually watched it.
It's been a minute.
I don't know. Somebody look up the character on Bones. Can you? Like, see what his name is, okay?
I got you.
So they give me this long script. Meanwhile, I've been on Ballers for 5 years, okay? Yeah. So I look at what I'm supposed to say. And I have ADHD, so I can't look at a whole script, right? So the guy's name is, do you look it up?
He said Dave Hines. Dave Hines. I've also got Sealy Booth.
Sealy Booth.
Sealy Booth. I got you.
Okay. So my question was supposed to be, so who killed him, Booth? Okay. But I, who have no time to look at this because I'm trying to get scoop, I go, so who killed Booth?
Oh.
Him, right? And they had me do it 5 times. And then finally he goes, hey, I'm Booth, right? I go, clearly I didn't, but why did you guys let me do this 5 times? And he goes, didn't you read our script? I said, let me ask you a question. What do you think I'm doing walking into the NFL? So you think I had time to read your freaking 800 pages of your script for my 2 lines? I don't got time for that. Just tell me what I got to say. And then he goes, you know what? I like you. And I go, let me ask you a question. You think I need your validation?
Oh, man.
Oh, the whole place went nuts, right? And I was just messing with him.
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, my God, I love you. This is fantastic. It was great. We became friendly over it, but I got 2 lines, man. I got time to read 800 things when I'm trying to get scoop for the season. And I did have a fun time with him. Well, no, actually, I didn't have a fun time with him.
Yeah, I take it back.
It would have if it was 2 minutes, but it was an 8-hour day, and I'm trying to get scooped. Yeah, but it was it's pretty cool. I got to do it.
Hey, look,
But that line's a great line, isn't it? Let me ask you a question. You think I need your validation?
It's amazing.
That
It
is a good
messes
one.
people up so bad.
I'm gonna
when
take
you
that
say that.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll
And
give
I
you
don't
credit
mean
for
it.
that.
It's just the shock value of it. Yeah.
I'll keep that one in my back pocket. But you're talking about scoop. Let's get some scoop. Justin Jefferson was talking a lot about, hey, would we be better with Sam Darnold? Yes, we would
Clearly,
be.
yeah.
Clearly, yeah, it's pretty obvious. And Justin Jefferson has talked a lot about what could have been for this Minnesota Vikings team. If you're JJ McCarthy and you hear those things, of course he's heard them. We've all heard them. How is he supposed to feel?
Same way Sam Darnold felt when he was getting ripped. A couple times in life, you find out who you are, right? You could cave, or you can go, oh, man, screw me, screw you. I'll show you guys. Baker Mayfield did it, right? Daniel Jones did it, right? There's 2 ways you can go. So JJ's got to stop with the whole alter ego stuff. With just learn how from KO how to be a quarterback, and just follow along and let there be progress. And by the way, it was Sam's 5th team, right? And I remember yesterday, Rosie and I, my wife, we were with Kyle Shanahan, and we were talking about this, and he's like, the biggest thing you do for these guys, and Kevin O'Connell told me the same thing, is you give them their confidence back. He didn't say it in these kind of words. You give them their something sack back. And he says what you do is you just tell them, dude, you start off a lot of small stuff. You tell them, just go. I don't care if you throw an interception. I don't care. These guys are so beat down. I just want to get them that blank sack back. And once you get that back, then what made them the 3rd pick in the draft starts to come back out again. And that's the mastery of it all. And that's what he did with Mac Jones, right? And that's what he's able to do with Purdy. Man, I don't care if you throw an interception as long as you go for it. Just go. Don't play scared. Play, you got house money, go. And it worked for Sam. It's worked for Mac. It's it worked for Daniel Jones with first Kevin and then obviously Shane Steichen. And I think that's where Kyle is just a master at it. He's just, you know, and you look at like people forget this. Baker Mayfield with Sean McVay. I think he taught him how to be coachable, right? And there's an art to it, and I think that's what JJ needs. Of like, hey, I'm all in. KO tells me to do this. Let me just forget the alter ego stuff, paint my face like all this stuff, and I got this different guy. No, just be the guy who's the 5th pick of the draft or whoever it was, and just learn from him, and just let him. And that's Kevin told me the same thing about Daniel Jones. He was just like, they're so beat down. You just got to get them. You got to. It's like extreme home makeover for males, right? And just get them to be comfortable again, and then their God-given talent comes out.
Somebody not lacking in confidence is a friend of mine, Max Crosby. You reported last year that Max was unhappy that he was shut down. Clint Kubiak
Let me tell you about Max Crosby before we go this, okay? Max Crosby comes out and trains with me last year, and him and Derwin James. And Max Crosby, in the first 15 seconds, because he is so strong, tore my bicep tendon, supraspinatus, rotator cuff, it rolled down. And my whole thing of our unbreakable mindset is if we're hurt and tired, you will never, ever, ever, ever know. And as you think you get, we ramp up on you. We ramp up. And pressure is a great weapon. We just go and go and go. And you're going to get me for the first 2 rounds because I'm not athletic. I'm 5'7". I'm Jewish. I got everything against me. But I just go forward and go forward and go forward and go forward until somebody goes, oh, my God, get this dude off me, right? But Max got me here early, and I never showed it. And I had them I had Max for a week or 2. I had Durbin for 2 months. And I told them both after. First 15 seconds, you guys tore my bicep tendon where it rolled, supraspinatus, rotator cuff, and they're like, we'd never know. I'm like, that's the whole point. So out there in the field, don't ever let anybody know. And it's funny because now I talk mental health, and I'm like, now I want you. That's the unbreakable mindset. Now there's a new unbreakable mindset. We're off that field and outside that cage. Yeah, you open up about your feelings. You tell everything. I want you to show it. I want you to tell it. And then you'll have these bonds, and you'll have this liberation where you don't have to hide anymore because those dudes were raised, you don't show it, you don't show it, you don't show it. And it's my fault of telling these guys, you don't show it, and you need that in the cage. You need that on a field. But the rest of the world, we got to start opening up. But Max and I are very vulnerable. And then when that happened, I remember Ian Rappaport the team went to him and said, oh, Max Crosby, we're going to do right by him. We're going to shut him down, and, we're really going to protect him from him. And then Max is on the other line going, man, screw these guys. They're shutting me down. I am not about this. Hell no, I'm not doing it. I left the facility. I'm out. I want to get traded. I'm done. And I was kind of trying to talk him off a ledge. And then I went to GM John Spytek. I'm like, Spy, you got to understand. There's a couple guys. If they tell you they're playing, they're playing. It's not open for discussion. They're playing. There's certain guys, they need it, right? And for a guy like Max, who he's an addict, he's addiction issues, he needs structure. You can't do that to him. Right, so I want you guys to look at it. You can still go for your first pick, but it can't involve him. And this is why I'm so tight in the league. Like these GMs and head coaches will come. It's my 34th year, 35th. They'll come to me with this stuff, And Max, that wasn't good.
Do you think you think his time with the Raiders is done?
I do.
Okay. Before the draft?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Is there a landing spot that makes sense in your opinion?
A ton of them. I'm not going to say what it is yet because I'm going to try and help it out.
Sure. What kind of haul do you think realistically a Max Crosby gets in general?
He probably more than Micah. So the day it happened, no less than 20 teams called me and asked, dude, is this real? Can we get him? What's it for? Oh, my God, we're not there yet, but yes, it's real.
Do you think his time with the Raiders is done because that's a Raiders decision or because that's a Max Crosby decision?
They didn't want to do it. But he was just like, I'm not going through another rebuild. And like he and the owner are very close. It's a really cool relationship. They legitimately love each other. And he went and, talked to him about it and said, I promise you I'll always be a Raider, but I don't want to go through another rebuild. I've done everything I can for this team. But also, remember I just said, if I'm hurt and tired, you'll never know. It's your honor to fight hurt. It's your honor to fight hurt. And he, you got to let him do that. It makes him feel like a gangster. And you can't take that from him. He's different. So I think the haul for him will be more than Micah.
I know we'll be following Max's future very closely this offseason. We'll also be talking a lot about Aaron Rodgers. What is his future?
So him and Mike McCarthy have talked. I think he has more of an appreciation for Mike now than he had by a lot. It's got a absence makes the heart grow fonder. I wouldn't be. Listen, I train with Aaron in the offseason. I still can't tell you how it'll be on a Monday or a Tuesday. I never know. He's just you never know. I thought we were real good friends and all that stuff. I think he called me back once this whole offseason, so screw him.
Is there somebody else you've got your eye on that we're not talking about that you think, hey, there's this?
I want to see what happens to Joe Burrow.
You think that's real? You think Joe could end up somewhere else?
I want to keep my eye on it. I think people are going to go after it. It doesn't mean they're going to be willing to do it, but I think people are going to go after it. Who else could? You kind of put me on the spot here. I haven't thought about it. I just haven't thought about it.
Okay, no worries. Obviously, you're joining us.
I do know that teams have called me about A.J. Brown, and A.J.'s my mental health buddy, so love him. I think A.J. got a bum rap this year. He did a great job covering for stuff that went in there. But he's emotional, but did a great job of everybody else wanted to say what he was saying in a way worse way. And he's like, I'll take the bullets for everybody. Yeah. I was actually proud of him.
You mentioned mental health a few times. It's beautiful, your work. I just want to say that. As somebody that therapy changed my life, I love the work that you do. You're also spreading awareness for ADHD and living with it. And you're joining us on behalf of Kelby Supernus. So tell everybody a little bit about what that is for you.
Yeah, look. So I was born with, you got to ask yourself, man, how many drugs does this guy's parents take when they conceived him? Because I have clinical depression, anxiety, ADHD, bipolar, OCD, anxiety, insomnia. Other than that, I'm a model of stability, right? But my scars make me who I am. Most of us leave with our highlights. Man, our scars are our equity. But my ADHD, I was diagnosed with it in 1989, which one of the first adults diagnosed on the East Coast ever. At Princeton Educational Learning Center. And I used to have to go and explain to my teachers what it was that I'd have to go and take a pill. And they thought I was like Ferris Bueller, right? They thought I was full of crap and I needed to take a pill. The problem with those pills, now this is my journey. I want to make this clear. It's my journey. Stimulants for me with my depression make it really, the ups, the peaks are phenomenal, but those valleys are scary and hard for me to get through. So I found a non-stimulant called Kelby, and I tried it for 2 or 3 months before I said, oh my God, this is for me. This is a game changer. And I take it at night. You never take a stimulant at night. I take this at night. And I was telling Gronk yesterday on the plane, I'm like, dude, we have 19 voices going in our head. Well, Kelby gets them down to 2 at night. So I can calm down. I call it the Kelby Calm. But also, I notice the next day at Fox NFL Sunday, if I'm not on them, my brain works too fast and I move on. I'll be in the second segment and I'm 5 names ahead in the third segment. So when I'm on Kelbury, it really gets me to focus on what I'm talking about there in that segment. It is a game changer, but it's not like, again, like stimulants get you like high and then low. This is just what it's supposed to do. It helps with your ADHD. And it's been a game changer for me.
It's beautiful to see you with the platform talk about it so honestly. So we appreciate you hanging out.
I'll tell you this real quick. When I got diagnosed with ADHD, I was told I had a learning disability back then. When you go up the Jersey Shore and they tell you got a learning disability, bro, it is not good.
Facts.
And eventually, when I go and talk to teams about this, I didn't have a learning disability. I just don't learn the way you teach. Right? I've written 2 books. I'm in the Broadcast Hall of Fame. I've gotten Emmys. I've been a top insider for years. Clearly, I don't have a learning disability, but they lumped us all in together, right? And now I go and talk to these teams. Everybody learns differently. Figure out a way you learn. I know for me, if you teach me something and I can coach it, I have a photographic memory. But if you just sit there and talk to me about it, I am not capable of retaining it. And I always tell people all the time, growing up with ADHD, every freaking parent-teacher conference was, Jason doesn't apply himself. Jason disrupts the class. When you have ADHD, for people out there, I want you to understand your kids. It's like if you're sitting in something that you're not interested in, it's like you're drowning. And the only way for me to get a breath of fresh air is to fidget, is to disrupt the class. Is to have an outburst. You think I wanted to do that and get in trouble every freaking week? I was punished constantly. I got grounded every freaking 2 weeks of my life. I'm not capable. You're not capable. So all you with parents out there, your kids are not capable of doing this the way that you want us to do it. Kelbury allows me to be capable of it.
That's incredible. Thank you for your time, Jay, man. We really appreciate it. Sure. Great stuff from Jay Glazer. All right, Nate Tice going to join us next. We'll get Nate Tice's thoughts on everything that happened in Cleveland yesterday, plus more, coming up next on Yahoo Sports Daily.
It's a good dude. I like it.
One school that's doing some work in there right now, very quietly, is the Florida Gators. At the time of us taping this, Florida is sitting there with a top 10 class. And you're like, JD, wait a second. Florida's got a top 10 class? Who have they added? And I think this portal class in general for John Summerall is a good reflection of just the overall vibe, attitude, persona of what you're going to get from John Summerall during his time in Gainesville.
And I've been thinking about the Denver Nuggets here for a little bit. Jamal Murray's gonna have to carry torch during this program. Like I know it's the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air looking around and no furniture around, but hey, he's gonna have to figure it out. What I will say that helps Denver is the return of this version of Aaron Gordon. And I very specifically mean this version of Aaron Gordon. And I know you might have a twinge of concern that he may do too much, but it was good early and they need it now.
Have you had a chance to kind of unpack all of it?
Yeah, I don't know that I have yet. I think it's just another reminder of how wild pro football can be. I've lived it so many times. I mean, I think going back a little over 2 years ago when I tore my Achilles to now, there's been a lot of curveballs and a lot of change. And I was told a long time ago in pro football, you got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I'm reminded of that time and again.
How long do you feel like that window is with Lamar, though?
I think you can get 2 more years of Lamar as a locked-in top 5 guy. And then I think after that is when it's like, okay, maybe he ages to more being a top 12 guy, which is still good. Maybe more of a tier 2 guy in my brain. And then it kind of ages from there. Russ went from like a tier 2 guy that fell off to a tier 3, tier 4 guy. You're going to have that drop off at some point in your career.
Dashingly handsome and wildly intelligent, Nate Tice tweets out, Raiders' job is more appealing than at first glance. Yeah. With an actual path to a quarterback, you know it. And the weapons they have, Kubiak's offense fits those players, and this scheme helps raise the floor of their weakest part, offensive line. Preach! Still need plenty more, but things are lining up in a key offseason for Vegas. Tice joins us right now. Nate, you know this. My fandom bleeds through my skin. I won't hide any of that. But in all seriousness, when I say Clint Kubiak, Fernando Mendoza, you say
success, path to success.
All right,
maybe
I'll see you guys next week. I'm
better than we've seen in maybe the last few years. It's funny you read that my own tweet. Like I read my stories to my son, like just little sound effects after. What's this? What color is that? So it's same kind of pacing there. No, I am more like obviously the Raiders have plenty to add defensively, offensively, but just like what Kubiak did with Seattle when their offensive line was porous last year, they added Zabel, but that offense lifts the floor. And that's why I'm kind of excited, not only just with Mendoza, Ashton Genty. I mean, how many times have we seen a running back in a Shanahan-Kubiak offense just go off? And Genty got some comparisons to running backs that have been in that offense before with the Broncos and whatnot. There's also Brock Bowers, tight ends. These guys thrive in a Shanahan-Kubiak offense. Kittle, Owen Daniels, Jordan Reed from Washington Commanders back in the day. Like, guys thrive in that offense, and you got Bowers, who's a true weapon. So there's just more there than I think that I'm not predicting like, oh, they're going to win 10 games next year, but I think it's just going to be like, oh, nice friskiness, nice actual like sustainability, growth. And then just with Mendoza, he's a good thrower on the move. My high-end comparison for him has been Matt Ryan. And Matt Ryan thrived in this type of offense, being able to throw on bootlegs, very accurate, can kind of just do everything very well. He doesn't have those like plus, oh my God, top of the scale traits, but he has a lot of good. And I think it's actually getting underrated a little bit because it's not, a Monstar. But I mean, watch that QB draw against Miami, and you just see that like he has that kind of gamer to him, that competitiveness to him. So I just. Again, not going like it's going to go crazy. They're going to go worst at first, but there's going to be just, I think, a nice step forward for a franchise that really needs it.
And I have also awarded him, Fernando Mendoza, the Cutie Patootie of the Year award. He is just the most precious, sweetest little thing, little angel. And with that, I want him to be upright. I don't want that sweet, sweet angel Fernando Mendoza to be on the ground. I don't want Ashton Genty to have another year where he's fallen short of expectations because they can't run block. So they need to beef up the offensive line. They have the money to do it. Who would you be looking at for the Raiders to pay this offseason to beef up that offensive line?
Tyler Linderbaum from the Ravens, but you have to see kind of like what, the Ravens aren't going to just let their starting center go, and he's a good one. There's also, there's like three of these guys. So it's McGovern, I believe, who's the left guard for the Bills. There's like a McGovern. There's like three different versions of Connor and Conrad. And so it's like I always want to make sure I get the right one. But the left guard for the Bills, how about I put it that way? So that's where I think they have to shore up. They took some interesting tackle projects that actually I think translate well to this offense. And, they still have Miller. They still have JPJ, who I like. They just bounced around all last year. The coaching was so porous at that offensive line last year, calling a spade a spade. So that's why I don't think it was as bad as it was last year. I think it's still more of a below average unit as opposed to the worst unit we've seen. But I do think this offense, and this is great. You go quarterback. I think they have enough weapons. They don't have desperately need another receiver, but adding another guy in day two, Jack Besh will be interesting in this offense as well. Again, there's a lot of interesting things here, but free agent guard would be huge, and I think there's some interesting ones out there.
What do you make, speaking of young quarterbacks, let's look at some of the other teams that don't suck in the league. Drake Maye, we were talking about earlier. I'm trying to put context around a season that was an MVP caliber season in the regular season, according to many, but in the playoffs, he's been bad. So how do you put context around what you've seen from Drake Maye?
He's not a mutter. That's the one thing I've figured out. Like a horse that runs in the rain, that's not for him. I think that's what's shown up is that my one blemish on him was that I loved him as a prospect, still really like him as a player, is that he has tinier hands. Like that, or not tiny, but not huge hands, which showed up, I think, in that weather. Luckily, it's going to be 60 degrees, I think, or 58. I did see like a 20% chance of rain on Sunday, so I got to check that again. It's like, of course. But I do think some of that is going against top defenses, doing it. The snowball is like a throw it out, like the Denver game. Like, truly, it's like they weren't playing football in the second half. They were just surviving, which is, it's fun, but it's just not in a way of like granular takes and big takeaways. It's kind of like, all right, I can't. It's like in horse racing, you got to kind of throw it out a little bit. But I do think that game against the Texans is going to be a lot like how the offensive flow will be against the Seahawks. I think they might have some early drives to have some success, but I think they're going to be testing deep down the field against the Seahawks, I'm sorry. And I think that's where I think the regular season is more indicative of what May is. Maybe the Chargers game, which was one that, even though they didn't score a bunch of points, was really good on rewatch. So there's been some positives there, but you're going against top 3, top 4 defenses that have a lot of pass rush and a lot of corners that can, whoop your receivers' butts. So that's maybe a little bit part of it too.
And so much has been made about the Patriots' path. And look, it's fair to point out the facts that a majority of the teams that they faced this season either fired their coach, or it was the Jets, or it was the NFC South. Right. It was not a gauntlet to get there. So I think a lot of people have talked about the Patriots as a potential Washington Commanders level regression candidate going into next season. Who would be a team, if it is the Patriots, or another team that would be like a top of the league to worst kind of candidate going into next season?
Oh, man. So a surprising one is maybe the 49ers not making a step forward, because it's one of those where I was very encouraged where the 49ers were last year. I guess the Panthers would be the easy answer because they won the division. But no, I think with the 49ers, maybe not. It's not just be me and go like, oh my God, they're going to win 5 games, but it's not going to be maybe a big step forward where it's like, oh, they're contenders next year. If you really look at their roster, it's aging. Kittle's coming off an Achilles now. CMC just took 400 touches, which is historically not a thing of the next year. There's usually a big drop off after that. They don't really have, Brian Robinson's okay there. The offensive line needs retooling. The receiver room's kind of a mess. Juwan Jennings is a free agent. And Brandon Ayuk they don't even know where Brandon Ayuk is. They haven't talked to him. And the defense was really encouraging as far as like the young guys that had to step up because of Bosa being hurt and Fred Warner and the young DBs, but still needs more. Like it still needs a couple more things. So they're a team that I might, which is funny, about a month ago, I would be like, oh, yeah, next year, look at the 49ers. And as I've kind of looked at everything, it's more that they have a very important offseason to nail if they want to have success for next year.
When you say 49ers, I immediately, in my mind, just think, God, somebody's going to go out there and try and pry away Mac Jones. I mean, they got another year.
Exactly.
Somebody wants him. I look at the next year crop of free agent quarterbacks and like Malik Willis. I mean, where are you on, if you are a quarterback-needy team, where the hell are you finding your answer this offseason?
It's been every little kind of superlative show I do with like Matt Harmon on Football 301, check it out, is that we keep going like, okay, all these head coaches got fired and all these teams need quarterbacks. And then we basically just broke down. It's like, all right, who? Like there's so many seats. And if you look at the names, so like Daniel Jones coming off an Achilles. You brought up the Mac Jones thing with one more year. But also, I don't think Kyle Shanahan saw Purdy get banged up. I don't think he's going to be really going like, yeah, sure, yeah, third rounder, yeah, whatever. It's like I think he's more like, whoa, let's just make sure we get through this next year. So yeah, Mac Jones is interesting, and then the draft though, it's a 1 quarterback class. Garrett Nussmeier has actually had a nice Senior Bowl. Everyone realizes he's healthy again, but again, like Garrett Nussmeier, who I do like, is like a 3rd rounder to me, and that's QB2. Ty Simpson will be the other one. We'll see what happens with Chambliss as well. But Malik Willis seems like maybe Miami is like the immediate answer because of who's coming from there halfway in the GM. So it's slim pickings after that. Okay, Jacoby Brissett, he's under contract with Arizona. But that's the world we're living in. Marcus Mariota. But there's not a lot of names out there that make sense. And like even the Vikings, we want to bring in a vet. And so they might do the Aaron Rodgers thing again. Or not again, but try to do it again. And we'll see like how that works. That's an interesting fit, and I'm very curious. I also have a better answer for the first question. It was the Eagles about first.
Candidate.
Yes, yeah.
I love that was still in the back of my mind. Turning back to that.
Yeah. Sorry. Yes, I know. It's a beehive up here.
Let's stick on the Eagles though for a second, because it has felt ever since they won the Super Bowl, it's just very nefarious, right? Kevin Patullo brings in maybe the most boring offense in the history of football. A.J. Brown's constantly upset about something. And then now there's questions about, what's the future defensively? Like what? How do we diagnose the Philadelphia Eagles, also understanding and acknowledging they have one of the most talented rosters in the league?
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is that a lot of that, they have interesting roster construction questions. And Howie Roseman talks about this. It's very fun to hear kind of like through context clues. Like, all right, this is what they're kind of leaning towards. So their offense got expensive a few years ago, so they had to make the defense cheap, which is a lot of young draft picks. Now those guys are up for contracts, so those guys have to get paid. And then now offense is like they have to go young, or they have to find new names there, or figure out new deals. AJ Brown seems like he's on the outs. I mean, you just had Jay in here, and you could kind of hear his messaging, and I was like, yeah, that seems about right. But then that is really what helps how Jalen Hurts plays, because he likes to take isolated shots. And so that's Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. So Dallas Goedert has been banged up. They don't have other tight ends on the roster. Slot receiver is another thing. Saquon Barkley looked older last year and looked slower. It was the run game dropped off a cliff. That's really what the story of the season was. On top of, A.J. Brown's reading books. I know not this year, that was last year. But Lane Johnson's getting banged up now. So it's just like an aging offense now that has a lot more question marks. And I think the Cowboys are going to take a little bit of a jump this year, too.
Is that why nobody seemed to want that coordinator job in Philly?
Yeah. I think they say a lame duck head coach unless they go gangbusters. And it's also like, all right, every other OC that gets here and doesn't do great just gets roasted and like all this stuff. So it's like, why would I take that? Might get fired, and it's a tough job anyways. That's not as appealing as it was maybe 2 years ago.
Do you believe in that offense with the right offensive coordinator that Jalen Hurts is an epic franchise quarterback?
I was a franchise quarterback. Yeah, you can win with him is how I played. They just won a Super Bowl last year. So I've been kind of, I think where he's at now is kind of, as it always, it's not as good or as bad as it's looked. And that's kind of how the last 2 years for him has been. And I think it's gauging that he's more what I consider a tier 3 guy, which is like quarterbacks 13 through 18, 13 through 20. It depends on the day. And to me, that is needs help, needs something, needs a good run game, needs a really good defense. But that has more questions. So if you're an OC, it's like, all right, we might have the 16th best offense, and it's like no one's going to feel it because of all that. I do think Sean Mannion's an interesting fit, the new offense coordinator, but he's going to have to merge some of the stuff that he does with what Jalen Hurts is good at, more gun stuff and everything.
I do want to go back to the quarterback position for a minute, because I feel like the past couple of years have been like the quarterback reclamation season. That Baker Mayfield goes from a guy that we wrote off to now a franchise quarterback in Tampa. Sam Darnold is now quarterbacking in the Super Bowl after we all labeled him a bust. Daniel Jones was playing like an MVP for the first 7, 8, 9, 10 weeks of the season. Who's that next reclamation project?
Well, I don't know if the one like immediate success, but I think an interesting name is going to be Anthony Richardson. Because that's just pedigree. Yeah, he's a mystery box, and he's still young. He's still 23. He's 4 years younger than Chuck. That's a guy to me that I think I could see someone taking a stab at. But the Colts have so many questions now because of Jones's Achilles. Riley Leonard looked good. I'm just saying. There's a few others out there, but that's the guy. Another guy that I think is an interesting name. This is more low key. Is Spencer Rattler. I think someone might take a stab at him. We're talking about just. People got to throw darts, like and like that's really what I think is going to be so interesting about all these like candidates this offseason. So it's like someone might throw a 4th rounder for Rattler and just go like, hey, see if this guy can start for us, or see if this guy can do it, like the Steelers or something. But that's Richardson's the name that comes to mind as like kind of that immediate one. Mac Jones already played this year, so it kind of was like, that one kind of got taken away. But other than that, really, that other coming to mind, that's about it.
So. Speaking of just throwing darts, feels like that's what's happening with coordinators right now all over the league. There's one specific instance we all have our eyes on, Cleveland, right? What's going to happen with Schwartz? So I guess the question here is, if Schwartz is not the defensive coordinator next year, what's the impact at Cleveland, and is there somebody you think that is sort of the right guy?
Oh, well, that you got to see what Monken, who he's worked with before, and that to me is like, well, the guys that he worked with defensively were like Mike Smith, and Mike Smith is long gone or retired and everything. So it's like, and you wouldn't want to go Schwartz to going to an unproven college guy is like, okay, it's like it can work, but it's just like, okay, that's very risky for how much new blood is kind of in that building. I think Schwartz is like I'm not going to say the best defensive coordinator, but he's firmly in that kind of like how we do quarterback ranks, tier 2 or above. And I think that it is a loss, and especially how that personnel is used, it's perfect for Schwartz because that was their long-term plan. So let's get the guys that are perfect for this. So I do think that it kind of worsens it. Like it kind of is like that was the whole selling point was like Monken and Schwartz would kind of balance each other out. We got offensive side and defensive side. So I don't like that. I understand why Schwartz is frustrated because he's like, why not just promote me? And then they're like, well, and then the owner and the GM are like, well, we want both. And so we'll see how that ends up. But I do think that Schwartz, this would be a huge loss for them. I can't think of a name because I'm just trying to think who's on Monken's tree. And most Ravens guys of the last few years just got, swooped back up. Weaver went back to Baltimore. So there's other guys I'm just trying to even think that he's worked with.
If you're Schwartz, where would you want to go?
Oh, wow.
I mean, Early reports have him
Chargers.
to Philly or to Vegas.
Chargers would be interesting, but Chargers don't have that personnel that having Myles Garrett really helps. And I would like Jim Leonard to the Chargers. I know he's at the Bills now, but him to the Chargers made more sense to me, just how he plays, because it's very DB centric, which makes sense of his background. His defense has to thrive off a defensive line, whether it was Philly, whether it was Tennessee when he was there, whether it was Detroit, and now Cleveland with those guys. So it has to be somewhere where they have some true weapons up there, because then he's the best guy to kind of weaponize that. So, yeah.
You guys can watch him on Football 301, hanging out with us. Also, a little, sneak peek, we're all going to be hanging out together doing some indoor football league action. Yeah. So this is the early portion of just a sneak peek into the three of us going out there, Dream Team, and some indoor football. Stick with Yahoo Sports for more announcements on that coming up. But appreciate your time as always, Nate.
Thanks, guys.
Always great stuff from Nate. All right, coming up next, the trade mill may not be done in the NBA, so we'll figure out. So you're saying there's a chance for a few teams that might want to get them hands on Giannis. Timberwolves.
Penn State has imported Iowa State. It's the best way I could explain it. Penn State has now taken Rocco Beck. They took RB1. They took wide receiver 1. They took 3 offensive linemen. I detest that this is how college football works at the moment, but it's the way it works at the moment. And that is, when you take a head coach, part of the thinking behind hiring the head coach is who he can bring with him. And in Matt Campbell's case, it was basically whoever he wants.
I'm very fascinated to see which direction they go here, because I think that Roman, this is the deal with him. He's not terrible. He's not offensive as an offensive coordinator, but he can get you to a certain point. You need somebody else to get you to the next point. I think he's done a good job with Herbert, getting him to run more and getting him to push the ball down the field. Now I'd like to see, someone kind of just, again, give him some more quicker options. That's the type of stuff I'd like to see from the next coach.
Tom Aspinall, Cyril gone. That needs to be resolved, right? Hamza Shemaiah versus Sean Strickland. But I will accept Hamza Shemaiah versus Fluffy Hernandez. If Fluffy beats Sean Strickland, I'll take either of those. Here's another one of my, but you accept these as secondary.
100%.
Armin Sarukian versus UFC lightweight champion. We cannot just keep having Armin doing grappling matches and eating and all this stuff. He
I'm
must
kind of okay
fight
with
for
it.
No, I'm not.
No,
I know you love it.
You get the first pick in the underrated player draft. Who are you taking?
Jalen Duren has never made an All-Star game. He's never made an All-NBA team. He's gotten so much better as a scorer this year. Jalen Duren is like a legit All-Star this year. And so because everybody talks about the Detroit situation like it's trash and Cade Cunningham, I'm going to say he's still a little bit underrated, and he's my number 1 pick.
So you're saying there's a chance. That's right. We have just put the Antetokounmpo brothers side by side. Full Dumb and Dumber, not implying either of them or either of them. But let's take a look at some of these teams that are on the graphic there that we're trying to figure out. Do they have a chance that gets them Giannis? And we're going to start with the adopted team for Yahoo Sports Daily. If you're just tuning in, Caroline Fenton lives in Charlotte. Doug, one of our great producers, also a Charlotte Hornet expert. So, look, the Hornets are the official team.
We're a Hornets show.
Or Hornet stands? Can we? I don't know if that's the way that goes.
We love our honeybees.
You see that Ramona Shelburne said, I think there are other teams that may have, that we have not talked about that would be very surprising that are also making calls on Giannis. I think Charlotte is an interesting team. I've heard that name out there. Very windy with the fingers. So we're trying to figure out, do you think there's a chance that we end up with Giannis, to Charlotte?
I would love it for my city. Mm-hmm. I would not love it for
Can we get tickets then for the rest?
See, I would not love it for the price of tickets, because you get Giannis and all of a sudden it skyrockets. But if you invest in the Hornets now, then all of a sudden we become the richest people in the entire city of Charlotte. So, financially this could be a great decision for us, not for the Hornets. The Zodiac GM, our friend of the show, loves it. He gives it an A+. Giannis as a Sagittarius, say that 5 times fast, vibes very well with the Hornets roster. So I always defer to the Zodiac GM for things like this. It would be a good fit. I just don't know if I give it an exponentially a high chance of this happening. Also, if I'm the Hornets, you have a really good thing going right now. Like, the Hornets are hot. All of these young pieces are gelling together. Con Knipple has a Rookie of the Year resume that he's building. LaMelo Ball looks like he's playing the best basketball this entire season. This young core is working. Do you want to disrupt that for what it would take to give up to get Giannis?
I mean, I'm going full Nancy Kerrigan on this and just asking why. Like, there's just no reason.
I know where you were going with that.
Thank you very much.
Look out for Giannis's knees.
I mean, come on, the Olympics. Come on, we're right around the corner. The why here to me, because like this feels to me like the Hornets are putting together this amazing gumbo, right? And like gumbo, if there's anything you've ever tried to make it, gumbo needs time, right? You just got to let it simmer. You got to set it and forget it. And it feels like we're halfway through and they took a little spoonful and they're like, this is really good, so let's add Giannis to it. No, you got to let it finish cooking. Like, they have started something that I think is really building the right way foundationally. I understand. And I get like, oh my God, we're ahead of our skis. We're not where we thought we'd be. Let's go get Giannis because now we can capitalize on the market and the opportunity. I get why you think that, but also there's a reason that slow and low has worked. There's a reason that it is working for their plan. It just doesn't make sense. Why are you going to mortgage everything for Giannis when you are like, we're a little surprised you are where you are, but you're a young team that's building together. So I'm full Nancy Kerrigan. Why on all of it? I'm going to keep doing that for the next 3 weeks. Olympics. Thank you very much. All right, let's get to the next one. Tom Haberstroh, friend of the show, friend of all of ours, laid out a masterful piece on Yahoo Sports. By the way, he's already crushing it because this was before the Harden trade. He was lining out in his piece how the Cavs can get Harden, Giannis, and LeBron. And it should be noted in his piece, he called the exact trade that then sent Harden to the Cavs. So he is 1 for 1, and I mean exact, all the way down to the second-round draft pick. So given the fact that Tom Haberstroh is obviously Miss Cleo and he's fully psychic, is there something here to LeBron ending up with the Cavs?
Yeah, there are always two people that I will defer to, and that is the Zodiac GM, and that is Tom Haberstroh, and that is one reason why. Look, the Cavs trading for James Harden, you acquire a 36-year-old in exchange for a 26-year-old. Now, you are fully pushing your chips in the middle for the next 2 years. All of a sudden, all of your future plans for the next 5 to 10 years, throw those out the window because we're pushing it in for the right now. And I don't disagree with that plan, because if you feel like you can win right now, you worry about 2032 and 2031. You worry about 2026 right now. So if you're going to go all in, if you're going to push your chips in the middle for the right now, go all in. I don't know if the Cavs can put together a trade package that makes it worthwhile for the Bucks to make that move, but if you're the Cavs, push those chips in the middle. You double down on it. You make yourself as good as you possibly can for right now.
Now, look, I mean, if you have I'm the one that said on this very show that dream teams don't really work anymore. That's just so dream team. I want it. I don't really care if it works. I just want it, right? And to be clear, it would take a summertime acquisition of Giannis, of LeBron. That wouldn't be something that happens before Thursday, but could they at least get some of the building blocks in for sure? Let's get another one in. The Timberwolves, not just talking about them because Tice was just on the show, even though, Nate Tice, noted Timberwolves fan, maybe the most famous Timberwolves fan of all time. I said it. People are saying it. But
Lizzo's a T-Wolves fan, too.
Tice, still the most famous? No, okay. So Giannis apparently showing interest in the Timberwolves. They're showing interest in him. He may be at the top of the list. Like Ant together with Giannis feels like that is the sort of thing that makes everybody say yes. What do you think?
That's one of those trades that on paper feels awesome. In a video game, sign me up for that. But it's also one that I question of, does that work in real life? Does that duo, does that pairing, do those personalities mesh in real life? And so maybe it could work. It makes the Timberwolves better, 1,000%. I mean, Giannis makes any team in the league better. But also, does that make the Timberwolves better than the Thunder? Does that make the Timberwolves better than the Denver Nuggets? If your answer is yes, then okay, 100% do it. If your answer is no, then is it really worth it?
Yeah, I think, honestly, I just love the idea of the size of those two players side by side in the modern NBA because it feels like that's so counterculture to everybody. I want to see it because I'd love to see what it looks like, but I don't know. Well, we'll squeeze another one in. The Miami Heat. The Miami Heat linked to this Pat Riley, maybe getting a little bit frisky here. There's a rumor out there they could try and pair Giannis with Ja Morant while keeping Bam Adebayo. Like, we're doing all of the trades here. The trade machine is going over here. Like, what? Well, I don't think this one has there's a better chance of me ice skating in hell tonight than this sequence happening. But you never know. I'll strap them skates on.
I mean, look, I win $1 million, and that's what Giannis and Ja and Bam sounds like. I want a cajillion dollars. I want to be a Victoria's Secret supermodel. However, some things are just not necessarily in the cards. If that is possible, if they can make that happen, sign me up for it. Not only is it just the great blockbuster trade that we've all been salivating for the past couple of weeks and leading up to the NBA trade deadline, but I think that makes the Heat that much more fascinating and interesting. I am here for it. I don't give it an exponentially large chance of happening. I would love it.
Yeah, it's interesting. All right, it is trade deadline week in the NBA, even though we're in San Francisco. So we've got a big one. Anthony Davis just got traded to the Wizards. We'll tell you about it next.
Give us your breakout fighters of 2026.
You're not going to believe that. Number one is Manchester top teams, Atiba Gutier. I think he's going to be the next big African star. Already is.
He's chiseled out of stone. He's got unbelievable power, great skill, huge for the weight class. Very, very impressive. And again, you speak to the guys over at Manchester top team, they could not be more excited about his potential.
Usually I would dunk on a team that's 8-9 going to the playoffs. You don't deserve it. For Carolina, celebrate it. This was a big step forward season. However you got there, you wanted some hope. You wanted something to be happy about. You backed into it, fine. I don't care. The Panthers did have some quality wins this year. They did seem to be making progress. So for the Panthers, hey, step forward, good job, celebrate it. It's a really nice year for the Carolina Panthers to win this division no matter how they did it.
I don't know how anyone could expect Kalen DeBoer to get Alabama back to where Nick Saban had it, because he's not going to. I would suggest to you that had Nick Saban stuck around at Alabama, he wasn't getting Alabama back to where Nick Saban had it a decade prior. And that's Nick literal Saban. I don't think Kirby Smart's getting Georgia back to what Georgia was a few years ago. Dabo's not going to get Clemson back to what Clemson was. It's almost like the entire world has changed.
Oh, let's get to another factory of sadness. The Atlanta Falcons, who fired Raheem Morris after 2 8-9 seasons.
You got Bijan Robinson, you got Drake London. That was what Raheem Morris said when they asked him, why did you take this job?
Yep.
And you still got those guys. And you still got those two guys.
We have breaking NBA news. Another massive trade. The Dallas Mavericks are sending 10-time NBA All-Star Anthony Davis to the Washington Wizards. The main piece of this is Chris Middleton. You see several other players mentioned, as they always have to balance salaries in these. But mostly this comes down to AD for Chris Middleton and 2 first-round picks. So as we sit right now with this breaking news that has just come through, Anthony Davis, Caroline, now joins Trae Young as a Washington Wizard.
Yeah, the Wizards' perspective of this, yes, you pair, Trae Young with Anthony Davis. On paper, you're leveling up. The star power in Washington has ratcheted up, no doubt. But is it really worth it? Is it really worth 2 first-round picks and 3 second-rounders in exchange for Anthony Davis, who is largely unavailable and always hurt? I don't think so. I don't think this makes the Wizards significantly better. From the Dallas side of things, you essentially traded Luka Doncic for Chris Middleton and 2 first-round picks.
Oh,
that makes me nauseous.
Oh,
that should make every Dallas Mavericks fan want to just pass out and throw up. I mean, like, Nico Harrison is like a human tequila shot. He just continues to come back and bite you in the butt. You wake up the next morning on a Sunday morning and you're like, oh, why did I do that? It's just a bad decision that just continues to bite you in the butt. This is not a anti-Chris Middleton sentiment, but you traded Luka Doncic for Chris Middleton and 2 first-round picks. I hope it was worth it.
Oh, this is one of the interesting things about the NBA, and to me, it's one of the hardest things about the trade deadline, is that so often we see moves that are just moves to make moves, to move some salary, to give you some flexibility for future years, and none of it means anything for the actual basketball we're watching today. Yeah. So, like, the hardest part about that, we have this conversation all the time about how do you make the NBA regular season more meaningful. And frankly, I think this year's NBA regular season has been really good.
Yeah,
I've enjoyed so much of this regular season. But these are the moments that you sit here and say, okay, from a brand standpoint, Anthony Davis is now a Washington Wizard. Like, we started this year with Anthony Davis supposed to be some level of hope of, okay, not everything is broken in Dallas. AD is going to be fine. And then we remember that AD is always broken. And Trae Young was supposed to at one point be a savior for the Hawks. And then it's like, well, Trae Young just went somewhere where he could get paid, and the Wizards just want to be kind of relevant again. So
the
now
Hawks are better without Trae Young.
100%. So now you end up with Trae hanging out with AD in a moment that probably makes the Wizards more relevant, but it doesn't really change the way we feel about the fortunes of Washington for the next 5 years. And this is where fans will always say, well, it's not about that. It's about the future money and trying to work these things out so we could draft for this. It's like, man, it's just every single move. It just feels like it's a cat chasing its tail. And this feels like this to me. It's crazy that we have gone to the point where Anthony Davis, who, remember, when AD was traded from the Pelicans, everybody sat there and said, how could New Orleans blow it? How could you have that guy and let him out of the building? How could your culture be so ripped up that you could never fix things around Anthony Davis? He goes to the Lakers, who basically have him long enough to get a bubble championship and then decide, now we're good. Like, we're good. We're going to move on. And now all everybody's trying to do is acquire and then unacquire Anthony Davis. Like, this is crazy. Like, great. The Wizards acquire Anthony Davis, and in 2 years they'll move Anthony Davis, and we'll all say, oh, Anthony Davis is being traded again. Like, it's crazy because I'm not trying to downplay what Anthony Davis has meant to the NBA. I think he's been a sensational player. But Anthony Davis today is a beat-up, broken body that you can't rely on to help you night in and night out. So you acquired a great video game piece, but you didn't acquire anything that, really changes your basketball team.
That's the reality of where Anthony Davis is right now. We talked so much about would the Mavs make a move with AD at the trade deadline, and I ultimately said no because I didn't think that there was going to be a single team that would be willing to give up actual tangible, values and assets in order to get Anthony Davis because he's just not reliable. Now, you bring up the Wizards. Does it make them exponentially better? Yeah, question mark, but it does make them relevant. Maybe that's worth it for the Washington Wizards, a team that has largely been irrelevant over the last couple of years. So we were talking about this yesterday, just off air. We were just kind of throwing this around. What's the most embarrassing franchise in the NBA? I threw that question around to a lot of our Yahoo colleagues that are all here for the Super Bowl, and somebody brought up the Wizards, and everyone was like, oh yeah, I forgot about the Wizards. So maybe the Wizards at this point, yes, they want to compete, and yes, they want to win championships, but maybe the first step to getting there is just being a relevant franchise that we actually talk about. I'm sorry, Wizards fans. I know that's not very nice to hear at this point, but maybe that's worth it for them. But overall, 2 first-round picks, we're seeing it here. Washington is giving up 2 firsts, neither of them considered a premium pick, 26 from OKC and a 28th pick from Golden State that they only get if it's 21 through 30. But still, Fitz, there's still 2 first-round picks.
Sure. All of this will always come back to the Luka trade. I'm sorry.
It always will.
The NBA changed a year ago when Luka Doncic was traded in a stunning move that even the players couldn't believe was real. When everybody was sitting there trying to figure out if we were being, fooled by a fake account on Twitter. And as it says here, Anthony Davis only played 29 games in Dallas. So you traded Luka because you didn't believe he was ever going to get into the shape that you needed to get you over the top or commit to being great at the game at a level that could make your franchise a championship franchise, even though I argue that Luka single-handedly willed that team to an NBA final. Like, we saw how good Luka could be. And for him, you got 29 games out of Anthony Davis. Now, we could sit here and say that that's not the Mavericks' fault. But also, that would imply that the Mavericks...
Maybe what they were signing up for.
100%. That would imply that they didn't know that Anthony Davis has a health history. Like, huzzah. I think we all know at this point. You say Anthony Davis, the person across from you says, never healthy. Like, it is part of the way we have to analyze everything. And I think the hardest part, even for Wizards fans right now who are scrambling to get the information, I'm looking at Twitter X as we speak. Wizards fans, all 3 of them, are just scrambling to find out why, the how, what it means. And I get all of that. But the focus today, I think rightfully so, is going to be on the lost opportunity that the Mavericks had. Man, Cooper Flagg signed up to be the savior of a franchise. Let's hope that they don't screw up Cooper Flagg the way that they screwed up everything around the entire process of Luka Doncic.
Is it fair to say the Mavs got more in return from AD than they did Luka?
I mean, considering that they got nothing.
They got nothing in return for Luka. You get 2 first-round picks. I mean, at least there's hope. At least that's future investment. And the Mavs, this is what this tweet says. The Mavs essentially traded Luka Doncic for Chris Middleton, AJ Johnson, Malachi Branham, Marvin Bagley III, 3 first-round picks in 3 seconds.
If I went back a year ago today and I put that same announce, if I went back a year ago today and that was the announced trade, I mean, there would have been riots from
I would have
Mavericks
thought that was
fans.
NBA Centel.
100%.
Fake news.
Would have been an absolute. So this is obviously from a brand standpoint, and again, from movement standpoint, this is a big move. We'll see what it means for the Wizards moving forward as they now combine Trey, Anthony Davis. Certainly, they become more interesting for the fans in the area that want a fun basketball team to watch. I don't know how much better it will make them on the court. We will find that out over time. Also, I will remind everybody the NBA trade deadline is tomorrow afternoon. We'll cover all of that with the Super Bowl. Come back and hang with us 9 a.m. tomorrow Central Time or Pacific Time.